We all know that some lives are destined for greatness, like heroes born to fulfill a higher purpose. But what if your very existence was the answer to an ancient divine plan? Imagine being born not just to live a life, but to restore balance in the universe. This was Lord Rama's destiny. In today's video, we'll talk about the divine birth of Lord Rama and the serene yet powerful start to his extraordinary journey. So, let's not waste any time and let's begin. The air in the city of Ayodhya feels cool and calm, a perfect morning to begin a new chapter in the kingdom's history. The soft rustling of the trees in the royal gardens mixes with the faint sound of temple bells ringing in the distance. This peaceful day holds the promise of something extraordinary, as within the grand walls of the palace, a divine event is unfolding. In the royal chambers, Queen Kausalya lies resting, her eyes closed in quiet anticipation. Around her, the air is thick with the scent of incense, its smoke curling upward to the heavens. The royal family has gathered in solemn prayer, their voices united in devotion. The sage Vishwamitra stands at the center, his presence calming, like a still river. His hands move gracefully, offering sacred mantras that float on the warm air. The chants are ancient, their rhythm soft but full of power, a reminder of the timeless connection between the heavens and the earth. Outside the palace, the world seems to hold its breath, as if it too is aware of the great event unfolding within. Birds cease their song for a moment, and even the gentle breeze seems to pause in reverence. In this sacred space, all is quiet, save for the steady murmur of prayers and the rhythmic chanting of the mantras. Then, with a soft cry that echoes through the palace, the royal son is born. Lord Rama, the divine incarnation of Lord Vishnu, has entered the world. His first breath fills the room with a sense of purity and promise. The queen's eyes flutter open, filled with tears of joy, as she cradles her newborn son in her arms. He is strong, yet serene, with eyes that seem to look beyond the mortal world, into realms unknown. The royal family surrounds the new mother, their faces radiant with joy. King Dasharatha, the proud father, stands tall beside the queen, his heart swelling with love and pride. He gazes at his son with a mixture of awe and gratitude, knowing that this child will carry the weight of great destiny. In the quiet of the chamber, the soft murmur of the family's voices blends with the gentle cries of the newborn Rama, creating an atmosphere of peace and hope. As the sacred rituals continue, the atmosphere in the room shifts. Offerings of fruit and flowers are made to the gods, and a priest steps forward, blessing the child. His blessings are gentle, as if the very air itself is filled with the blessings of the divine. With every touch, every prayer, it feels as though the earth itself is welcoming Rama, preparing him for the extraordinary journey he is destined to undertake. But even in this moment of peace, there is a sense of something more. A soft murmur flows through the room, carried by the air, an awareness of the challenges that will one day come. Lord Rama's journey will not be an easy one. His path is marked with both great triumphs and heartbreaking trials. Yet, for now, all is calm. The gentle swaying of the trees outside, the steady chants of the priests, and the soft glow of the sun as it rises higher in the sky all combine to create a moment that seems as though it will last forever. And yet, as Rama lies peacefully in the arms of his mother, the future of Ayodhya is set in motion. The kingdom will soon witness the rise of a hero who will face not only the trials of kingship, but the tests of righteousness and love. His life will be an epic saga, one that will define the very meaning of duty, loyalty, and sacrifice. Though the peaceful serenity of this moment will be fleeting, it will forever remain in the hearts of those who witness it. The birth of Lord Rama is not just the arrival of a royal heir. It is the divine beginning of a story that will resonate through generations. This moment marks the beginning of a journey that will shape the fate of the kingdom, the family, and the very principles of Dharma itself. As the ceremony winds to its close, the air remains thick with sacred vibrations. The family retreats for a moment of quiet, and the royal palace slowly returns to its rhythm. Yet, in the heart of Lord Rama's parents, and in the hearts of those who serve them, there is an undeniable knowing. this is only the beginning. There is much more to come. The peaceful world that now surrounds them will soon be touched by fate's hand, and the divine child who rests in the queen's arms will grow into the hero of an eternal tale. Time moves gently forward. Little Rama's days in the royal palace unfold like a sacred prayer, filled with the warmth of love, the soft hum of daily life, and the unspoken knowledge of the destiny that awaits him. The calm of the palace is broken only by the quiet rustle of silk robes, the sounds of delicate offerings being made to the gods, and the steady rhythm of life continuing its course. But amidst it all, the divine child remains peaceful in the warmth of his parents' arms, unaware of the struggles and victories that will shape his life. As the years pass, the palace of Ayodhya becomes a world of wonder for young Rama. The walls, adorned with golden carvings and intricate tapestries, seem to hum with the rhythm of royal life. The sound of courtiers and attendants moving through the corridors fills the air, punctuated by the soft strains of music, flutes and sitars, their melodies winding through the grand halls, weaving a tapestry of sound that echoes the joy and abundance of the royal household. King Dasharatha and Queen Kausalya shower their son with love. Every day, Rama is surrounded by the warmth of his family, his parents' unwavering affection providing him with a sense of security and peace. The aroma of freshly prepared meals drifts through the air, spices, herbs, and warm, comforting dishes that reflect the opulence of palace life. Yet, despite the indulgence of this royal existence, there is an underlying simplicity in the way Rama is raised. The teachings of dharma, righteousness, and duty are never far from his parents' hearts. His days are filled with study and lessons as much as play, with wise sages and learned scholars guiding him in matters of both knowledge and virtue. His early childhood is filled with laughter, his own and that of his friends in the palace gardens. He runs through the sprawling lawns with joy, chasing the sounds of birds and the rustling of leaves. The playful companionship of the palace servants' children fills his heart with contentment. There, in the sun-dappled corners of the royal grounds, Rama learns the balance of duty and joy, of kindness and strength. Yet, for all the beauty of his surroundings, there are moments when the palace reveals its complexities. Whispers drift through the corridors, tensions that grow between the different factions of the royal family. Queen Kaikeyi, Rama's stepmother, harbors desires for her own son, Bharata, to sit on the throne, and her ambitions begin to quietly shift the dynamics in the palace. The subtle unease that lingers in the air is something that even young Rama cannot escape, though he is unaware of the true depth of the situation. Despite the growing tensions, Rama's heart remains pure, focused on his studies, and devoted to the lessons of wisdom and leadership his father imparts. King Dasharatha, always proud of his eldest son's strength and wisdom, often takes him aside, speaking of the responsibilities of royalty. The king's voice, though filled with love, carries a heaviness that Rama feels in his own heart. For the first time, he begins to sense that his life is not just one of luxury and comfort, but is also marked by the weight of expectation. The grand meals continue, served by silent attendants with perfect grace. Yet there is something different about the atmosphere in the royal dining hall. The once light-hearted conversations between family members begin to carry an edge, and there are more moments of silence between King Dasharatha and Queen Kausalya. Their faces, usually filled with joy and affection, sometimes show the faintest traces of worry. Rama senses this unease, though he cannot fully comprehend it. He continues to play in the palace gardens, but the shadows seem longer now, the sun a little dimmer. His youthful heart begins to feel the pressure of his growing destiny. He is the heir to the throne of Ayodhya, a kingdom vast and powerful, and the burden of that future weighs heavily on him, even as he dreams of simpler things. In these early years, there is still a sense of innocence, a peace that allows him to enjoy the blessings of his royal life. His mother, Queen Kausalya, watches over him with an undying tenderness, always guiding him toward righteousness. Her voice, soft and calming, is a constant reminder of the values she holds dear: truth, compassion, and wisdom. Every day, she teaches Rama the importance of dharma And every night, before he falls asleep, she whispers prayers for his future, invoking blessings from the gods to protect him. The love between mother and son is pure, a bond that will remain unbroken despite the trials yet to come. But even in these moments of quiet, something stirs within the walls of the palace. The seeds of change are being sown, and the future that lies ahead for Lord Rama is becoming ever more certain. There is no escaping the path that destiny has laid before him, a path that will soon call him into the world beyond the comforts of the palace, where his true journey will begin. For now, though, Rama is still a young prince, full of promise, joy, and love. The serene beauty of the palace surrounds him, and he takes comfort in the simplicity of his childhood. Yet, as the days pass, he will begin to understand that his life is intertwined with something much greater than he could ever imagine. Something that will change not only his fate, but the fate of the entire world. As the years pass, Rama matures into a young man of remarkable grace and wisdom. His heart, pure and steadfast, grows stronger with each lesson in dharma, the teachings of justice and compassion that he carries close. The palace around him continues to hum with life, servants tending to the royal gardens, musicians filling the air with soft melodies, and the ever-present whisper of royal duties. Yet, for Rama, there is a growing awareness that his life is meant for something far greater than the luxuries of the royal court. King Dasharatha, proud of his son's character and wisdom, often shares with him the weight of leadership, preparing him for the day when the throne will pass into his hands. The quiet wisdom of the king and the nurturing love of Queen Kausalya continue to guide Rama, shaping him into a leader who embodies both strength and kindness. The halls of the palace, once filled with the sound of royal celebrations and laughter, begin to feel like the backdrop of an unfolding story, a story whose twists and turns are guided by the unseen hand of fate. One evening, as the sun sets over the kingdom of Ayodhya, the stillness of the palace is broken by the arrival of an urgent request from Queen Kaikeyi. Her voice, usually calm and measured, now carries an unmistakable intensity, and the royal court listens closely. Her demands are shocking. She insists that King Dasharatha banish Rama to the forest and place her son Bharata on the throne. The court falls silent in disbelief. The weight of her words hangs heavily in the air, thickening the atmosphere in a way that sends ripples through the hearts of those present. The king, devastated by his stepwife's request, pleads with her, his voice trembling with a mixture of hurt and confusion. Queen Kaikeyi, once beloved and trusted, now stands unwavering, her eyes filled with a cold determination. The atmosphere in the palace grows tense, and the once harmonious space feels alien, as though the walls themselves are closing in. King Dasharatha, torn between his love for Rama and the duty he owes to his kingdom, is faced with a choice that will shake the very foundation of his family. Through it all, Rama stands still, his face serene, his heart untroubled. His mind, though shocked by the turn of events, finds clarity. This moment, so full of pain and betrayal, is merely a test of his commitment to dharma, the path of righteousness that he has always followed. His father's heart breaks as he faces the decision forced upon him. Yet Rama remains calm, his loyalty to his family and his duty to the kingdom unwavering. In the quiet of his chambers, as the world outside seems to crumble, Rama speaks with a voice full of compassion. He tells his father that he will fulfill the decree without hesitation. There is no anger in his words, no bitterness, only a deep acceptance of the role that has been thrust upon him. The Prince of Ayodhya, beloved by his people, now prepares to leave the comfort of his home to walk into the vast unknown of the forest, in obedience to the call of dharma. The royal court is stunned by Rama's grace and acceptance. The king, now stricken with sorrow, embraces his son, his tears falling freely. His voice is thick with emotion as he begs Rama to stay, offering him any of the riches and comforts of the palace. But Rama, ever dedicated to his moral duty, simply bows his head and walks away, not in defiance, but in peaceful submission to the will of the gods. The calm that radiates from him in this moment is like the stillness of a river that runs deep, unaffected by the storms of the world. As Rama leaves the palace, The sounds of the court fade away, replaced by the quiet rustling of leaves as he steps into the gardens, his heart clear and his purpose certain. The air is cool, carrying the scent of jasmine and sandalwood, a reminder of the life he is leaving behind. The peaceful rhythm of the palace life, once his world, now seems distant, as if a veil is being lifted from his eyes, showing him the true nature of the journey he is about to undertake. With a gentle step, Rama walks toward the forest, where his destiny awaits. His heart, though filled with the sorrow of separation, beats with the strength of his resolve. The rustling leaves beneath his feet are a steady reminder of the path ahead, uncertain, yet guided by the eternal light of Dharma. This is not the end of his story, but a beginning, a stepping stone to a journey that will test his very soul. The palace may have been his home, but it is the world beyond that calls to him now. The sound of the forest grows louder as he moves further away, the calls of birds and the whisper of the wind among the trees filling the air. With each step, Rama embraces the solitude of the wilderness, knowing that it is here, in the heart of nature, that his true journey will unfold. As the last of the palace walls disappear from view, the forest envelops him in its quiet embrace, and the story of Rama, the divine hero, the protector of Dharma, truly begins. As Rama steps further into the wilderness, the familiar sights of the palace begin to fade into the distance, replaced by the quiet serenity of the forest. His footsteps are light on the earth, the rustling leaves beneath his feet blending harmoniously with the symphony of nature around him. The sound of birds chirping in the trees and the distant murmur of flowing rivers fill the air, a natural chorus that accompanies him on this unexpected journey. The cool breeze sweeps through the trees, carrying with it the scent of pine and earth, the fragrance of a world untouched by the complexities of royal life. Beside him, Sita walks with a calm grace, her presence a steady comfort in the midst of this unfamiliar world. Her heart, like his, is full of love and devotion, yet there is an undeniable sadness in her eyes as she gazes at the man she loves, now bound by the duty of exile. She has chosen to follow him into the forest, not as a queen, but as his devoted wife, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. Her footsteps match his pace, and though the journey ahead is uncertain, there is a quiet strength in her gaze that speaks of her unwavering support. Lakshmana, Rama's loyal brother, walks beside them, his gaze sharp and alert, ever ready to defend his family. Though the forest offers peace, it also holds hidden dangers, and Lakshmana knows that the wilderness is not as gentle as it may seem. He carries his bow with ease, prepared for whatever threats may arise. Yet, even in this moment, his heart is filled with devotion to his brother, and he too follows Rama's lead with quiet acceptance. The bond between the brothers is one of deep love, built over years of shared experiences, and Lakshmana knows that his place is by Rama's side, wherever the journey takes them. Together, they walk through the dense woods, the trees standing tall and silent, their branches intertwining above them to form a canopy that shields them from the harsh sun. The path is winding, and the air is thick with the earthy scent of the forest floor. But there is a certain peace in the stillness. The world outside feels distant, as if the forest has become a realm unto itself, untouched by the chaos of the royal court. There are no courtiers, no servants, no opulent feasts, just the simple rhythm of their footsteps and the sounds of nature around them. As they walk deeper into the forest, the weight of their decision begins to settle around them. Yet Rama's composure remains unshaken. His face is serene, his eyes focused ahead, his mind clear and unwavering. Despite the uncertainty that lies ahead, despite the loss of the life he knew, there is no fear in his heart. He knows that this journey, though difficult, is part of a greater plan, a plan that will lead him to fulfill his duty and his destiny. His trust in Dharma, in the righteous path, is unwavering, and that faith gives him strength in the face of the unknown. The peacefulness of the forest contrasts with the turmoil of the world they have left behind, but this contrast only deepens their sense of purpose. There is a quiet adventure in the simplicity of their journey, a sense of returning to something ancient and sacred. The forest, with all its beauty and mystery, holds lessons that can only be learned through experience. The days ahead will be filled with both challenges and revelations. But for now, there is a calm acceptance in the air, a knowing that, though the path is unknown, they are walking it together. Sita, walking closely behind Rama, occasionally glances at him, her eyes filled with both admiration and concern. She has always known him as a prince, as a ruler in waiting, but now she sees him as something more, an embodiment of the ideals he has always stood for. In this journey, she sees the depth of his commitment to dharma, and her heart swells with both love and sorrow. She is his wife, his companion, but she is also a part of his journey, and the two of them, bound by love and faith, will face whatever comes with grace. As the sun begins to dip lower in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the landscape, Rama stops for a moment, gazing at the horizon. The path ahead seems endless, but in his heart, he knows that he is where he is meant to be. The forest, with its ancient trees and hidden paths, may be full of uncertainty, but it is also full of possibility. Every step they take, every rustling leaf, and every soft murmur of the river is a part of their journey. A journey that will define not only their lives, but the lives of all those they will encounter. With a deep breath, Rama turns back towards Sita and Lakshmana. "We will find our way," he says, softly, his voice carrying a calm certainty. "This journey is one of dharma, and with it, we will find peace." The three of them continue onward, their spirits light, their hearts full of devotion and determination. The quiet of the forest surrounds them, and the world, for the moment, seems to fade away. They are together, bound by love and faith, walking the path laid before them, knowing that whatever the future holds, they will face it as one. The peaceful rhythm of the forest, once a comforting companion on their journey, begins to shift. The soft rustling of leaves, the gentle flow of the river, and the harmonious sounds of birds that had surrounded Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana now seem distant, drowned by the sudden tension in the air. The calm of the wilderness, which had embraced them in their exile, begins to feel different, as though an unseen presence is watching, waiting, preparing for something inevitable. Rama and Sita, as they had been for days, walk hand in hand beneath the shade of the towering trees, the quiet moments between them filled with gentle conversation and the warmth of their bond. Lakshmana walks a few paces behind them, ever vigilant, his sharp eyes scanning the surroundings for any signs of danger. For a moment, the world around them feels serene, the forest cloaked in the gentle light of the afternoon sun. But that serenity is broken in an instant. The sound of a chariot, a sound unlike anything they've heard before, echoes through the trees. It is an eerie sound, foreign to the tranquil woods, a harbinger of something far more sinister. Before they can even fully grasp the threat, the air is filled with the strange, unsettling hum of powerful magic. The trees seem to shudder, and the earth beneath their feet trembles as if in warning. And then, without warning, the sky darkens, casting the forest into an unnatural twilight. The air becomes thick and heavy. Ravana, the mighty demon king, has arrived. In an instant, everything changes. The demon king, in his form so grand and terrifying, emerges from the shadows, his chariot drawn by great beasts that snort with fury. His eyes, glowing with malice, fixate on Sita, the most beautiful woman in the world. The quiet, peaceful forest becomes a place of raw fear and desperation. Before Rama or Lakshmana can react, Ravana's hand reaches down and seizes Sita, lifting her effortlessly into his chariot. The world stands still for a moment. Sita's cry, filled with both shock and terror, echoes through the trees, and then she is gone, swallowed by the darkness that now descends upon the forest. Rama's heart stops as he turns to see Sita being taken away, her form fading into the distance, disappearing into the sky. The quiet woods, once so full of peace, now feel like a prison, as if the forest itself mourns with him. His breath catches in his chest, a deep guttural sorrow rising within him. His wife, his beloved Sita, has been taken, There is no more silence, no more peace, only the sound of his own heart breaking. Rama's composure, once steady and unshaken, begins to crack. His hands tremble as he reaches out, grasping at the air, his voice a quiet plea to the gods. "No," he whispers, the word barely escaping his lips. He can hardly believe what has just happened. His mind races. His world is now in chaos. His eyes, filled with shock and disbelief, search the forest as though hoping to find some sign, some trace of his wife's presence. But there is nothing. The forest is still, the only sound now the quiet rustle of leaves, as though the very trees have fallen silent in mourning. In his heart, Rama knows that he must act, that he cannot let this wrong stand. His wife, taken by a demon king, is now far from his reach, but not for long. The grief in his chest slowly hardens, and what was once sorrow begins to turn into something much fiercer: determination. Rama turns to Lakshmana, whose face mirrors the pain and fury within him. "We will find her," Rama says, his voice quiet but resolute. His words are not just a promise, they are a vow. His sorrow will not paralyze him. His love for Sita, his devotion to her, now drives him with a purpose that will not falter. Lakshmana, too, stands tall, though his own heart aches with the loss of his sister-in-law. He bows his head to Rama, his loyalty unshaken. "We will not rest until she is safe, my lord," he says, his voice a fierce echo of Rama's own resolve. And together the two of them, Rama and Lakshmana, begin to prepare for the battle that is to come. But for now, the forest remains quiet again, as if waiting for what is to come. The chariot that carried Sita away is gone, the distant sound of its wheels fading into the horizon. All that remains is the heavy silence of the woods, broken only by the sound of Rama's steady breath and his unshakable resolve. Rama's heart burns with an intense, unyielding fire. He knows that the battle ahead will be one of great consequence, not just for him, but for the very fabric of dharma. Ravana, the demon king, has made a grave mistake in abducting Sita. Rama will not allow this wrong to stand. The challenge has been set, and the stakes are higher than ever. But even in his grief, Rama's faith in dharma, in righteousness, and in his love for Sita will carry him forward. The peaceful forest, the place that once provided shelter and solace, now serves as the backdrop for a much larger struggle. A struggle that will test every ounce of Rama's strength, resolve, and devotion. With his heart still heavy, but his purpose clear, Rama takes his first step toward a future that is uncertain, but filled with the promise of one thing: he will do whatever it takes to bring Sita home. The vast forest, once quiet and serene, now feels like the edge of a storm, the air thick with anticipation. Rama's heart is still heavy with the loss of Sita, but as he moves forward, his purpose sharpens, and the path ahead becomes clearer. The journey to rescue his wife will not be one he can walk alone, and so, with determination in his eyes, Rama sets out to seek the help of others, alliances that will prove essential for the great battle that lies ahead. The first of these allies comes from the very heart of the forest, a race of beings known as the Vanaras, monkey-like creatures who dwell in the dense woods, their agility and strength unmatched. They are led by Sugriva, the Vanara king, whose kingdom has been thrown into turmoil by the evil reign of his brother, Vali. Sugriva, exiled and in hiding, seeks refuge in the same wilderness where Rama now wanders, unaware that the man he is about to meet is the very hero he needs to restore peace and order to his own kingdom. Rama's encounter with Sugriva is one of mutual understanding and respect. At first, Sugriva is wary, unsure of what to make of this wandering prince in the forest. But when Rama speaks of his purpose, to rescue his wife from the clutches of Ravana, Sugriva listens closely, sensing in Rama a kindred spirit, someone driven by duty and honor. Rama, in turn, understands Sugriva's plight, and the two find common ground in their shared experience of loss and exile. It is here, in the heart of the wilderness, that their alliance is born. As the days pass, Rama and Sugriva's bond grows stronger, their conversations filled with a growing camaraderie and mutual respect. Rama listens intently as Sugriva shares the struggles of his kingdom, and in turn, Rama speaks of his own journey, of the loss of Sita and the challenges he faces ahead. The sun sets and rises again as they talk, long hours spent exchanging stories and strategizing, their voices blending with the sounds of the forest around them. The once peaceful woods now hum with energy as a new alliance takes shape. It is not long before Sugriva calls upon his Vanara subjects, and a great army begins to form. The trees shake with the movement of hundreds of Vanaras, their strong, agile bodies leaping from branch to branch, gathering together in anticipation of the battle to come. The once serene forest, filled with the soft rustle of leaves and the quiet calls of birds, now buzzes with the activity of a growing army. The Vanaras are ready to fight, their loyalty to Rama growing with each passing day. But it is not only Sugriva and his Vanaras who answer Rama's call. Among the Vanaras is a figure whose presence shines brighter than all others, Hanuman, the devoted monkey god, whose loyalty to Rama is unwavering and whose strength and wisdom will prove invaluable in the days ahead. Hanuman, with his deep sense of duty and his pure heart, becomes Rama's most trusted ally. His devotion is unmatched, and as he stands before Rama, his eyes filled with respect and reverence, it is clear that their bond will be one of the deepest and most enduring. Hanuman, with his boundless energy and incredible feats of strength, quickly proves himself to be an invaluable part of the growing army. His ability to leap great distances and his mastery of magic make him a force to be reckoned with. Yet, it is his unwavering devotion to Rama, his complete faith in the prince's mission, that truly sets him apart. The two share many conversations, filled with camaraderie and mutual respect. Rama speaks of his love for Sita, and Hanuman listens with a heart full of empathy, offering encouragement and support in every moment. In Hanuman, Rama finds not only a powerful ally, but a friend, a companion who shares in his sorrow and determination. As the Vanara army grows, the peacefulness of the forest fades entirely, replaced by the sounds of preparation for battle. The Vanaras, once playful and carefree, now train with focus and discipline, sharpening their skills and preparing for the great challenge ahead. Rama watches them with pride, knowing that his allies are ready to fight for a cause greater than themselves. The forest, which had been a place of quiet reflection, now echoes with the sounds of determination, of warriors preparing to take on a demon king. In the days that follow, Rama and Hanuman work closely together, their bond growing stronger with each passing hour. Hanuman's devotion to Rama is matched only by his desire to help rescue Sita, and together they begin to form a strategy. Rama, calm and collected as always, leads the planning, while Hanuman offers his wisdom and unparalleled strength. The energy of the forest seems to hum with their efforts, the quiet rustling of leaves now replaced by the steady cadence of warriors preparing for war. As the army continues to grow, Rama's resolve only deepens. The loss of Sita still weighs heavily on him, but with each passing day, he knows that his cause is just and his allies are true. The bond between him and Hanuman, as well as with Sugriva and the Vanaras, becomes a shining example of loyalty, strength, and the power of unity. The battle ahead will be fierce, but with these allies at his side, Rama feels the confidence and resolve to face whatever challenges Ravana has prepared for him. And so, the forest that was once filled with the sounds of peace now echoes with the preparations for war. The alliance between Rama and his new companions becomes the heart of a growing army, their energy palpable, their loyalty unshakable. With Hanuman leading the charge and Sugriva's Vanaras beside him, Rama's resolve is tested, but not broken. The battle for Sita's return is only just beginning, and as the army prepares to move forward, the forest stands silent once again, the calm before the storm. The energy of the Vanara army is palpable as they gather along the shores of the vast ocean that separates them from Lanka, Ravana's kingdom. The peaceful hum of the forest is replaced by the clamor of preparation, the steady rhythm of hammers striking stone, the scrape of tools digging into earth. and the rustle of hands working tirelessly toward a common goal. In this quiet yet intense moment, an impossible task is set before them: to build a bridge that will span the ocean and carry Rama and his army to the heart of enemy territory. Rama stands at the edge of the water, his gaze focused on the distant horizon where Lanka waits. His mind is calm, but his heart is steady with purpose. The task ahead is daunting. How could an army of Vanaras, without the tools or means of great builders, possibly construct a bridge strong enough to carry them across the vast expanse of the ocean? But Rama knows that this challenge is not merely one of physical strength. It is a test of their resolve, their unity, and their faith. And it is through his leadership that they will succeed. With a single command, the work begins. The sound of stones being moved, logs being arranged, and materials being gathered fills the air. Vanaras of all sizes and shapes move with incredible speed, bringing together the resources needed for the task. Some dive into the waters, gathering massive rocks, while others work on land, shaping the materials with skillful hands. Rama watches as they work, his presence a silent strength that guides them forward. There is no hesitation in his eyes, no doubt in his voice, only a calm, unwavering belief in the possibility of success. As the days pass, the sight of the bridge in progress becomes a symbol of hope. The pieces begin to fall into place. Each log, each stone, a testament to the determination and unity of their army. The sounds of the workers, once scattered and disjointed, now harmonize into a rhythm that mirrors the beating of a single heart. Every Vanara, regardless of size or strength, is united in this task. The unity they share under Rama's leadership is their greatest strength. No task is too great, no challenge too impossible. Rama's wisdom becomes evident in every decision he makes. He oversees the construction with a steady hand, guiding his forces with both patience and precision. His understanding of dharma, of duty, is the foundation upon which the bridge is built. The materials, heavy rocks, long logs, and vines are carefully arranged, creating a structure that will withstand the ocean's tides. With each passing day, the bridge grows stronger, and so too does the resolve of the army that is building it. The air is filled with the sounds of construction, tools striking stone, the steady pounding of wood being shaped, the scraping of earth as it is dug away to make room for the foundation. There are moments of laughter, moments of encouragement, as Rama's forces work together, their bonds growing stronger with every hour. Each swing of the hammer, each movement of stone is a small victory. The distance between them and Lanka grows shorter, and with it, the hope of reclaiming Sita. As Rama watches his army, his heart swells with pride. The bridge is more than a mere structure. It is the embodiment of their collective will, their determination to face the challenges ahead. The ocean, once a seemingly insurmountable barrier, now becomes a symbol of their unity. With each log placed and each stone set into position, the barrier between them and Ravana's kingdom becomes less and less an obstacle, more a stepping stone on their journey toward victory. Rama's leadership is tested in these moments, but he remains calm and resolute. He does not speak often, but when he does, his words carry the weight of experience and wisdom. He encourages those who grow weary, offering words of strength, of hope. We are not merely building a bridge, he tells his forces. We are building a path to justice, to righteousness. With every stone we lay, we move closer to fulfilling the dharma that calls us. His words echo through the workers, and the energy of the army surges anew. As the days turn into weeks, the bridge takes shape. Each plank, each stone, each knot of rope, a reminder of the strength of Rama's army. The once quiet shore is now a bustling hub of activity, filled with the noise of construction and the sounds of determination. And slowly, the ocean, which once seemed vast and unyielding, is transformed into a path, one that leads directly into enemy territory. Rama, standing at the edge of the bridge, gazes out over the water. The bridge stretches toward Lanka, its strength now undeniable. His army has worked tirelessly, and their efforts have borne fruit. The last stone is laid, the final knot of rope secured. The bridge is complete. A moment of silence falls over the army as they step back, looking at the work they have done. The bridge, strong and steadfast, now stands as a testament to their unity, their loyalty to Rama, and their unwavering commitment to the cause. There is no fear in their hearts, no doubt in their minds. They are ready to face whatever lies ahead. The air is still for a moment. Then the quiet rustle of the forest gives way to the sounds of life once again. The hum of nature blends with the whispers of Rama's forces, and the mood shifts from one of anticipation to one of action. With the bridge complete, the path to Lanka is now clear. Rama's heart beats with purpose as he looks toward the distant shore. The time for planning is over. The time for action has come. The army, united in purpose and driven by their faith in Rama, prepares to cross. The bridge, this symbol of their collective strength, now stands as the final link between them and the battle that awaits. With steady steps, they move forward, their spirits high, ready to face the trials of the journey ahead. And as the last few feet of the bridge are crossed, the echoes of their footsteps resonate across the water, the beginning of the final chapter in Rama's quest to reclaim Sita. As Rama and his army stand on the threshold of Lanka, the air thick with anticipation, the reality of the task ahead begins to settle into their hearts. The bridge they built with such effort now connects them to the kingdom of Ravana, the demon king who has wronged them all. The peaceful serenity of the forest that once surrounded them has been replaced by the harsh sound of clashing swords, the cries of warriors, and the unyielding determination that fills the air as they approach the final confrontation. The gates of Lanka stand tall before them, their iron frame glinting in the harsh light of the setting sun. The walls, built to defend the kingdom, now serve as a battleground for the warriors of both sides. Rama, his bow steady in his hand, steps forward, his gaze unwavering, his mind focused solely on the task ahead. The forces of Ravana are immense, monstrous warriors and demons who seem to rise from the very ground beneath them, their strength unparalleled. But Rama is undaunted. His heart, driven by the love for Sita and the promise of justice, beats with fierce determination. With a single signal, the battle begins. The air is instantly filled with the sound of swords clashing, the rhythm of metal against metal, the grunts and shouts of warriors as they collide. The earth beneath their feet trembles with the fury of the fighting, and the sky seems to darken with the weight of the moment. Rama, his bow drawn, fires arrows with precision and skill, each shot cutting through the air, striking down the enemies that dare to challenge him. His movements are fluid, his strength unmatched. There is no hesitation in his actions, no uncertainty in his heart. He fights with a purpose, his every strike a testament to his devotion to dharma, to righteousness. But Ravana's army is relentless. The demons swarm around Rama like shadows, and the battle grows more fierce with each passing moment. The sound of war is deafening, the cries of the fallen mingling with the roar of the ocean crashing against the shore. Rama's forces, the Vanaras, fight with equal vigor, their agility and strength proving to be a powerful force against Ravana's demon army. Sugriva leads his Vanaras with courage, and Hanuman, with his boundless energy, leaps into the fray, his strength shaking the very ground beneath them. Together they push forward, but the cost of battle is high, and the toll it takes on Rama's forces is visible in their weary faces. The sun begins to set, casting a blood-red hue over the battlefield as the clash of swords intensifies. Every victory comes at a cost. With each demon that falls, the toll on Rama's own strength grows heavier. His body bears the marks of the battle, scrapes and bruises, his clothes torn and stained. But his resolve never wavers. His devotion to Sita and his unwavering commitment to dharma fuel him, keeping his spirit strong even as his body tires. Amidst the chaos, Ravana himself enters the fray, his massive form towering above the battlefield. His presence is commanding, his eyes burning with fury as he strides toward Rama. The air crackles with the intensity of their confrontation. Ravana, with his immense power and dark magic, strikes with brutal force, each blow shaking the earth beneath them. His weapon, a massive sword forged in the depths of the earth, gleams with deadly intent. Rama, his bow now broken, turns to face the demon king. He draws his sword, the steel gleaming in the fading light, and stands tall before Ravana, his face calm, his heart steady. "You have taken what is mine, Ravana," Rama says, his voice strong but filled with sorrow. "Now you must face the consequences of your actions." The battle between them is a spectacle of divine strength. Ravana with his supernatural power and Rama with his unyielding determination clash in a dance of fury and precision. The sound of their swords meeting is like thunder, each strike echoing across the battlefield. Rama's blows are swift and powerful, but Ravana's dark magic warps the very air, making each movement more difficult than the last. The fight seems endless, each warrior matching the other blow for blow. Yet, in the heart of the battle, Rama's devotion to Dharma and to Sita burns brighter than Ravana's fury. As the battle rages on, Rama's strength seems to grow, while Ravana's power begins to wane. With every strike, Rama moves closer to his goal, and with every moment, his purpose becomes clearer. Finally, with one last, decisive blow, Rama strikes Ravana down. The demon king falls to the earth, his body crumpling in defeat. The roar of victory rings through the air, but it is tempered with the weight of the battle that has just been fought. Ravana's body, once so full of pride and power, now lies motionless at Rama's feet. The battlefield, which moments ago had been filled with the sounds of war, falls silent. Rama, his chest rising and falling with the weight of the battle, stands over the fallen demon king, his heart heavy with the cost of the fight. The blood of both sides stains the earth beneath him, and the cries of the wounded fill the air. But the battle is over. Sita has been avenged, and justice has been served. Rama's victory is not just one of strength, but of devotion. His love for Sita, his unwavering commitment to Dharma, has carried him through this battle. And now, as the sun sets over the battlefield, the world seems to pause in the aftermath. The cost of the battle has been high, but in the end, Rama stands victorious. And as the echoes of the battle fade into the distance, the anticipation of what is to come fills the air. The road ahead is still long, but the victory in this battle has brought Rama one step closer to his ultimate goal, to reclaim his beloved Sita and restore peace to the world. The victory over Ravana feels both triumphant and heavy. As the echoes of battle fade into the distance, Rama's heart is filled with a bittersweet anticipation. The road to Sita's rescue has been long and fraught with challenges, but now, at last, he is on the cusp of what he has longed for, the reunion with his beloved wife. The very thought of holding her once more stirs something deep within him, a love that has withstood separation, sorrow, and the cruel hand of fate. But even as Rama steps toward the gates of the palace, a deep unease settles over him. The joy of their impending reunion is tempered by the painful truth that this moment will not be simple. Sita has been in Ravana's captivity for so long, subjected to the demon's scrutiny and imprisonment. The doubts of others, especially those of the royal court and the citizens of Ayodhya, now weigh on Rama's heart. How will they perceive her? Will they believe in her purity and loyalty, or will they cast aspersions on her honor? These questions haunt Rama as he walks through the gates, and though he longs for Sita's embrace, his heart is heavy with the burden of what lies ahead. As he enters the palace, the once familiar sights greet him with a sense of melancholy. The courtiers, the servants, the royal attendants, everything seems as it once was, yet it feels different now. The air is thick with the anticipation of Sita's return, but there is an undeniable tension in the atmosphere. Whispers swirl in the corners of the court. Eyes dart toward Rama and the palace gates, waiting for the moment when Sita will step through them. When Sita finally appears, walking toward him, the world around Rama seems to stop. Her presence is everything he has dreamed of and more. Beautiful, regal, and with an aura of strength that only comes from having endured so much. But even as he reaches out to her, a shadow of doubt creeps into his heart. How can he be sure? How can he reconcile the Sita he has loved, the woman of purity and grace, with the harsh reality of what she has suffered? Sita, as she approaches him, feels the weight of the silence. Her eyes, filled with both love and sorrow, meet his, and in that moment, all the pain of their separation seems to disappear. Yet, beneath that gaze, there is something more, something deeper than the joy of reunion. It is the quiet understanding of the trial they now face together, the storm that has yet to pass. Rama, though his heart overflows with love for her, cannot ignore the questions that rise within him. He speaks gently, his voice soft, but filled with the weight of the moment. "Sita," he says, his words heavy with both longing and pain, "you have been in the hands of Ravana. How can I know that your heart has not wavered? How can I be certain that your love for me has not been tainted by the years of captivity?" The word strikes Sita like a blow, and her heart aches at the very thought that her love for Rama could be questioned. Yet, she knows that this moment, this trial, is not just one of reunion, but of proving the purity of her devotion. With a quiet strength she speaks, her voice steady but tinged with the sorrow of their separation. "My lord," she begins, her eyes never leaving his, "I have faced the worst that Ravana and his demons could do to me. But through it all, my heart has remained true to you. My love for you, Rama, is as pure as it was the day I was taken. Nothing will ever change that." But Rama's heart remains torn, the pain of the situation not yet healed by her words alone. In this moment, he is forced to confront the harsh reality of his duty as king and the weight of his people's judgment. The court watches quietly, their expectations heavy on his shoulders. The whispers of suspicion, though hushed, are still present in the air, carried on the winds of uncertainty. Rama's love for Sita is absolute, but as a ruler, he must also consider the public's perception, their faith in the righteousness of his actions. His duty to his kingdom pulls at him, and the struggle within him deepens. The chapter unfolds with the quiet tension of Rama's inner conflict. He cannot deny the depth of his love for Sita, but he also cannot ignore the reality of his responsibilities. How can he balance his devotion to her with the demands of his rule? As the night falls, he stands in the palace gardens, the moonlight casting shadows across his face. The air is cool, but the weight of his thoughts makes it feel as though the warmth of the day has already passed. Sita, too, feels the strain of their separation. Though she has always known Rama's heart, the pain of this moment lingers in her chest. She has suffered so much in the hands of Ravana, but nothing compares to the anguish she feels now, standing before her husband, unable to bridge the gap between them. Her love for him is unwavering, but the road to his trust feels impossibly long. The chapter moves forward, filled with an unspoken understanding between them. Rama's heart aches with the uncertainty that still hangs in the air, but he knows, deep within himself, that his love for Sita has never faltered. The time will come when he must make a decision, not just as a king, but as a man who loves his wife more than life itself. As the evening settles into night, the sounds of the palace grow quieter, the murmurs of the court softening into the distance. Rama and Sita stand together, their hearts full of both love and sorrow, as the world around them begins to turn again. Yet, in this moment, time seems to stand still. Though the future is uncertain, one thing is clear: no matter the trials ahead, their love will endure. And so, in the quiet stillness of the night, Rama and Sita, bound by love and duty, step into the next chapter of their lives. The echoes of their reunion are filled with both joy and sorrow, and the kingdom of Ayodhya too begins to shift. The whispers of doubt may remain, but the bond between them is unbreakable, and with it, the promise of a future where love, though tested, prevails. The journey back to Ayodhya is filled with a quiet sense of triumph. Yet beneath the joy of their return, there is an undercurrent of anticipation that hums through the air. The sun is beginning to dip beneath the horizon, casting a golden light across the path that leads them home. Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana walk together, their steps in sync, a quiet procession that symbolizes the end of one journey and the beginning of another. Their faces are calm, their hearts content, but there is something deeper in the silence between them, a knowing that the challenges of the world outside the forest will soon resume. As they approach the gates of Ayodhya, the city bursts into life. The streets, once quiet, are now filled with the sound of drums, the clattering of cymbals, and the joyous shouts of the people. It is as if the entire kingdom has come to life at the sight of their prince and his family returning home. The air is thick with the scent of flowers, and the streets are lined with garlands and banners, celebrating the victory and the return of their beloved Rama. The sounds of the city fill the air, but they do little to mask the deeper weight of Rama's heart. Rama's eyes scan the crowds, the faces of his people flashing before him. There is love in their gazes, admiration in their voices as they chant his name. His heart swells with pride, but even amidst the celebrations, he cannot shake the responsibility that looms over him. The duties of a king are not so easily forgotten, and with his return comes the heavy mantle of leadership, the decisions that must be made, the balance of justice and compassion that he must maintain for his people. Though the cheers of his kingdom surround him, there is a quiet, unspoken understanding within him. The journey of kingship has just begun. Sita, walking beside him, feels the weight of the moment as well. Her heart beats with joy at the sight of the people's love, but she too senses the shift that is taking place. The years of exile have ended, but the road ahead will require a strength of a different kind. She knows that Rama's role as a ruler will demand sacrifices, both from him and from those he loves. The smiles of the people, the beauty of the city, it all feels like a dream come true. Yet Sita's heart remains grounded, aware that this victory is not the end of their story, but the beginning of new challenges. Lakshmana, ever loyal and watchful, walks beside them, his eyes scanning the crowds. His face is lit with the pride of a warrior returning with his brother. But like the others, he feels the gravity of the moment. The people's celebration is a balm to the wounds of their long journey, but he knows that Rama will need him in the days ahead. Together, they have fought, but now they must face the trials of leadership and governance. It is a new battle, one that will test their unity and strength in ways they have not yet faced. As they approach the royal palace Sinadhi, cheers grow louder, and the gates open to reveal the grand hall beyond. Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana enter, their steps echoing through the stone corridors of the palace. The air is still, and for a moment, the bustling of the city outside fades. The palace, once a symbol of home, now feels like a place of transition, as if the very walls themselves understand the weight of the journey that lies ahead. Rama steps forward, his heart steady despite the overwhelming emotions that stir within him. King Dasharatha, who has long awaited this moment, rises from his throne. His eyes, filled with both joy and relief, meet his son's. The two share a look. No words are needed, for the love and pride between them are evident. Yet, there is also a deep recognition that the kingdom is in need of Rama's leadership. The responsibilities of kingship, of upholding justice, now rest on his shoulders. The sounds of the royal court return, the murmur of attendants, the quiet rustle of silk robes. But despite the grandeur of the palace, the noise of the celebrations outside, Rama's mind is quiet, his thoughts turning inward. There is no time to bask in the glory of his return. The duties of a king must be addressed. The kingdom is at peace for now, but peace requires governance, and governance requires sacrifice. As the night draws in, the celebrations continue outside. But within the palace, Rama sits in silence. His family, his allies, the people, all are safe, and yet his heart is burdened. The past has been conquered, but the future looms ahead, filled with unknown challenges. He has brought justice to Sita, and he has returned to his people. But now he must rise to the challenges of ruling. Sita stands beside him, her presence a steady comfort as they sit together, facing the weight of the future. The world outside may be filled with cheers and songs, but within these walls, the true work begins. Rama's heart beats for his kingdom, for the people he has sworn to protect. He knows the road ahead will require all the wisdom, strength, and courage he can summon. But he also knows that, with Sita by his side, with Lakshmana's unwavering loyalty, and with the support of his people, he is ready. The night deepens, and the palace becomes a quiet, solemn place, echoing with the sounds of distant celebrations. Rama, standing by the window, gazes out at the kingdom below. Ayodhya, his home, his kingdom, now rests in his hands. The weight of his father's legacy, the expectations of his people, and the love of his family guide him forward. He has returned to his throne, but the journey of leadership, of duty, justice, and love has only just begun. And as the night settles, Rama takes a deep breath, ready to take up the mantle of leadership, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead with the same strength, devotion, and courage that has carried him this far. The kingdom of Ayodhya and its future rests in his hands now. He steps forward, ready to lead, with his heart steady, his purpose clear. The day of Rama's coronation dawns clear and bright, a fitting reflection of the sense of hope and renewal that fills the air. The streets of Ayodhya are once again alive with celebration, the sounds of joyous voices and music filling the atmosphere. Yet, beneath the lively festivities, there is an undercurrent of reverence. For today is not only a day of celebration, it is the day that Rama, beloved son of King Dasharatha, will ascend to the throne and become the ruler of the great kingdom of Ayodhya. As the royal procession makes its way through the palace gates, the grand hall is adorned with the finest decorations, golden banners, garlands of fragrant flowers, and shimmering lights that reflect the dignity and honor of the occasion. The air is thick with the scent of incense, and the soft murmur of prayers and chants reverberates through the walls, carried by the priests and sages who gather in reverence. The rhythmic sound of bells rings out in unison with the steady beat of the drums, an echo of the heart of the kingdom. Rama walks through the halls of the palace with the serenity of a man who has long known his purpose, but whose heart carries the gravity of the responsibility now placed upon him. Beside him, Sita walks with quiet grace, her presence as steady and calming as it has always been. She knows, as he does, that this day marks a turning point in their lives. The kingdom, so full of life and hope, now looks to him, not just as a son or a warrior, but as its future king. As Rama approaches the sacred altar, the chanting grows louder, the vibrations of the mantras weaving through the air like a sacred thread. The priests, their faces serene and focused, begin the sacred rites that will officially crown Rama as the king. The golden crown, which symbolizes the weight of leadership, is placed in front of him, gleaming in the soft light of the palace. The deep resonance of the mantras fills the room, echoing off the stone walls, each word a prayer to the gods, asking for blessings and strength for the new ruler. Rama's mind is calm, yet filled with understanding. He feels the weight of the moment. The crown that rests before him is not just a symbol of power, but of duty, justice, and the preservation of dharma. His heart is heavy with the knowledge of the responsibilities he must now bear. A ruler is not merely a figurehead. He is the embodiment of justice and truth, the protector of his people. The sense of dharma, the guiding principle of righteousness, is the light that will guide Rama's every decision as he takes on this new role. The priests begin the ceremony, their voices steady and reverent, calling upon the gods to bless Rama with wisdom, strength, and the ability to rule with compassion. As the first sacred oil is poured over his head, the warmth of the ceremony envelops him. Rama closes his eyes for a moment, his mind focused on the path ahead. He has long known what it means to live by dharma, but today, as the weight of kingship falls upon him, he understands it more deeply than ever before. The choices he will make in the coming days, the decisions that will shape the future of Ayodhya, will not be easy. But he knows that with dharma as his guide, he will never stray from the path of righteousness. The golden crown is placed upon Rama's head, and the room erupts in a chorus of blessings. His heart swells with both pride and humility as he rises from his knees to take his place on the throne. The throne, carved with intricate designs of gods and celestial beings, seems to hum with the weight of history, of the countless kings who have sat before him. Yet, as Rama sits upon it, he feels the quiet strength that comes from knowing his purpose. This throne is not just his by birthright, it is his by duty, by the divine calling that has shaped his life. Rama's gaze sweeps over the assembled court, his people, and his family, and in that moment, he feels a deep connection to all of them. His love for Sita, his loyalty to Lakshmana, his respect for his father's memory, all of these things swirl within him, grounding him in the knowledge that this is not just a personal achievement. This is the culmination of his family's sacrifices, his people's hopes, and the fulfillment of a destiny that has been written in the stars. The coronation ceremony continues, the sounds of the celebrations growing louder as the evening draws near. The blessings of the court, the cheers of the people, and the sacred chants fill the palace, creating a powerful atmosphere of reverence and joy. But in the quiet moments, Rama reflects on the journey that has brought him here, his exile, his battles, his struggles, and he understands more deeply than ever the significance of this day. It is not just a moment of triumph. It is the beginning of a new chapter for Ayodhya, and for the kingdom. Rama must be both a warrior and a king. He must stand for truth, justice, and the well-being of his people. As the night falls, the palace is illuminated by the glow of lamps and torches, casting long shadows over the royal halls. The sounds of celebration continue outside, but inside, Rama remains at the throne, his thoughts quiet but focused. He has taken his place as the king of Ayodhya, but his work is just beginning. The road ahead is uncertain, and the weight of leadership is heavy on his shoulders. Yet, in this moment, there is a calm assurance within him. His heart is steady, his purpose clear, and with Sita by his side, he feels ready to face whatever challenges come. As the final blessings are spoken, Rama rises from his throne, his heart filled with both love and duty. He is now the ruler of Ayodhya, and his reign will be one guided by dharma, loyalty, and the desire to protect his people. With the coronation complete, the kingdom of Ayodhya begins a new chapter under the rule of a king who understands the depth of responsibility and the sacred trust placed in him. As the days pass after the coronation, Ayodhya flourishes under Rama's reign, the kingdom experiencing a sense of peace and prosperity that echoes through its streets. The sound of the market fills the air with a steady hum, and the laughter of children echoes across the royal gardens. Yet, even amidst this calm, a cloud of uncertainty looms over the royal court. The whispers begin softly, like a breeze on the horizon, but soon they grow louder, carried on the wind of suspicion. The people, though they adore Rama and Sita, cannot erase the doubts that linger in their minds. Sita, having spent months in Ravana's captivity, has become the subject of gossip, her time in the demon king's clutches casting shadows over her reputation. The purity of her heart and her devotion to Rama are beyond question to those who know her, but to the people of Ayodhya the truth is far murkier. Despite her unwavering faithfulness, the whispers grow louder with each passing day. Doubts about her purity, about the time she spent under Ravana's roof, continue to plague the palace. Even in the peace that Ayodhya now enjoys, a storm brews quietly at its core. Rama, caught between the love he has for his wife and the expectations placed upon him as king, begins to feel the weight of these rumors more acutely. As the ruler of Ayodhya, he is bound not just by his love for Sita, but by his duty to maintain justice and uphold the moral standards of his kingdom. He knows that if these doubts are allowed to fester, the very foundation of his reign could be threatened. In the privacy of his chambers, Rama reflects on his position, torn between his heart and his duty. He knows that his love for Sita is pure and true. She has shown him nothing but loyalty and love since the moment they were reunited. But the kingdom demands more. The cries of the people are not easily ignored, and Rama is bound by a duty to protect the honor of his kingdom, even if it means sacrificing the one thing he holds most dear. The decision weighs heavily on him, his heart aching at the thought of subjecting Sita to such a trial. And so, Rama makes the difficult decision to put Sita through the Agni Pariksha, the trial by fire. The ceremony is both sacred and excruciating. It is a test not just of Sita's purity, but of her unwavering devotion to Rama. To prove her innocence and her love, Sita must walk through flames, and if she emerges unscathed, it will prove to all that her heart remains as pure as it was when she was first taken from Ayodhya. The preparations for the Agni Pariksha are made swiftly, and the people of Ayodhya gather at the royal palace in anticipation. The tension is thick in the air, the whispering crowds murmuring among themselves. Rama stands before them, his face a mask of stoicism, though the pain in his heart is evident to those who look closely. His love for Sita has never faltered, but duty calls him to uphold the laws of the kingdom, and the weight of Rakhi, that duty is unbearable. Sita, her heart filled with both sorrow and resolve, walks to the sacred fire pit. She does not resist, for she knows that this trial is not one of punishment, but of proof. Her eyes meet Rama's, and for a fleeting moment, the depth of their love is reflected in their gaze. But even as she steps toward the flames, she is calm. There is no fear in her heart, for she knows the purity of her soul. This test, though painful, is one she is prepared to face. The flames flicker in the fire pit, their orange and gold tongues dancing in the evening air, crackling with energy and heat. The crowd watches in silence, their eyes wide with anticipation. Rama, standing at a distance, forces himself to remain still, though his heart races. The fire seems to roar louder, as if reflecting the turmoil within him. The crackling of the flames fills the air, and in that moment, it feels as though time itself has slowed. Sita steps into the fire without hesitation. The crowd gasps, their eyes fixed on her every movement. The heat is almost unbearable, the air thick with the smell of smoke and the sound of the crackling flames. Yet, as Sita walks through the flames, she remains unscathed, her body untouched by the fire that should have consumed her. The trial, meant to reveal her purity, instead becomes a testimony to her unwavering devotion and the strength of her soul. Rama's heart pounds in his chest as he watches Sita emerge from the fire, her form radiant, untouched by the flames that should have burned her. In that moment, all doubt is erased. Sita, his beloved wife, stands before him, as pure and devoted as the day they first met. The trial, though painful, has proven what Rama has known all along. Her love is true, her heart unwavering. The crowd erupts into applause, their doubts silenced. But for Rama, the moment is bittersweet. His love for Sita has never been in question, but the weight of his role as king has forced him to subject her to this trial. The fire that he forced her to endure, the doubt he allowed to creep into their lives, all weigh heavily on him. He steps forward, his eyes filled with both sorrow and relief, and takes Sita's hand in his, lifting her up with both love and respect. As they stand together, surrounded by the cheers of the people, Rama feels the weight of his duty as king, and yet he also feels the depth of his love for Sita, a love that has withstood every test, every trial. The Agni Pariksha, though painful, has only strengthened their bond, and as they stand together in the light of the evening sun, the sounds of the kingdom rise around them, a chorus of triumph and peace. But in the quiet of his heart, Rama knows that the path ahead is not without its challenges. The trials of leadership, of love, and of duty will continue to test him. And yet, with Sita by his side, with the knowledge that their love is pure, he feels ready to face whatever comes next. The fire has tested them both, but it has also purified their bond, strengthening it in ways nothing else could. The days that followed Sita's trial by fire were filled with an uneasy calm. The kingdom rejoiced, believing that the ordeal had finally proved Sita's purity. Yet, beneath the surface of these celebrations, the murmurs of doubt never fully ceased. The royal court, still filled with whispers, could not easily dismiss the lingering suspicions that had taken root during Sita's time in Ravana's captivity. Though the Agni Pariksha had shown her innocence, the public's perception remained clouded. In the eyes of the kingdom, the question of Sita's purity had not been fully resolved, and the weight of these doubts was something Rama could no longer ignore. Despite his deep love for Sita, Rama's role as king cannot be set aside. The kingdom's opinion, its collective judgment, is a force stronger than even his own heart. As king, he is bound by the laws of dharma, which require that he uphold the trust of his people above all else. The murmurs of suspicion grow louder, and Rama, though torn by his heart, knows what must be done. The burden of duty presses heavily upon him, and his every thought is clouded by the knowledge that the kingdom's faith in him is at stake. Rama's decision to exile Sita is one that shatters him, leaving him with a sense of emptiness that gnaws at his soul. He knows that to preserve the integrity of his rule, he must sacrifice the one thing he holds most dear. But the pain of that decision is unbearable. To send his beloved wife, his heart, his soul, into exile is a fate worse than any battle he has fought. The love they share, the bond they forged through years of separation and struggle, feels as though it is being ripped apart. His heart aches as he recalls the warmth of their time together, the joy they once knew, and the love they swore would never falter. The royal court is filled with a tense silence when Rama announces his decision. His words, though composed, are heavy with sorrow. He speaks of his duty as a king, his duty to his people, and the weight of the kingdom's opinion. "I am bound by the dharma of kingship," he says, his voice steady but filled with the pain of his words. "I must do what is necessary to preserve the honor of Ayodhya and protect its future. Though my heart grieves, I must ask that Sita be exiled." The court listens in stunned silence, the weight of Rama's decision sinking into their hearts. The royal attendants bow their heads, and the courtiers exchange uneasy glances. Some understand the king's reasoning, others do not, but all feel the sorrow in the air. The decision has been made, and there is no turning back. Sita, standing by Rama's side, listens in silence, her face pale and strained, her eyes wide with disbelief. Her heart, once full of hope, now feels as though it is breaking. She had believed with all her heart that the Agni Pariksha had proven her love for Rama, that the doubts of the people would vanish. But in that moment, standing before the throne, she realizes that despite all she has endured, the shadows of suspicion still linger. Rama's eyes meet hers, and in them, she sees the agony of his decision. His love for her is clear, but his duty as king is greater, and the pain of his internal struggle reflects in his every glance. "Sita," he says softly, his voice breaking, "I have no choice. For the good of Ayodhya, for the future of our kingdom, I must send you away. I wish there were another way." The words cut through her like a blade. The weight of his decision presses down on her chest, and for a moment she feels as though she can hardly breathe. This man, her husband, her Bamtayanda, has made this choice, not out of cruelty, but out of the crushing weight of responsibility. She knows that his heart is breaking as much as hers, yet the pain of abandonment stings more sharply than she ever expected. The love that once bound them now seems like a distant memory, swallowed by the overwhelming reality of duty and expectation. Sita lowers her head, her tears falling silently. The strength that had carried her through years of hardship now falters, and she feels the weight of Rama's decision with a deep, soul-crushing sadness. Yet, as she looks up at him, her gaze steady and filled with quiet grace, she knows that she must accept this fate. She has always trusted him, followed him, loved him, and now, even in her pain, she will not falter. "I understand, my lord," she says softly, her voice trembling but resolute. "I will go as you wish, but know that my love for you will never fade. I will carry it with me, always." The words hang in the air, heavy with sorrow and finality. The court, watching the silent exchange between the two, can feel the heartache that surrounds them, the unspoken bond between husband and wife now shattered by the cruel hand of duty. Sita's departure is swift, though the pain of it lingers long after she has gone. The sounds of the court, the bustling of royal attendants, and the quiet murmur of the kingdom outside the palace walls now feel distant, as though Rama is no longer a part of the world he once knew. He is a king, yes, but at this moment, he is also a husband, broken by the very duty he swore to uphold. The chapter ends in a quiet stillness. The palace, once filled with the echoes of love and joy, now stands heavy with the weight of Rama's sacrifice. The fire of duty burns brightly, but the heart of the king is lost in the ashes of his decision. He watches as Sita leaves, her silhouette disappearing into the distance, and for the first time the full cost of his rule weighs heavily upon him. The echoes of her departure linger in the halls, as if the very air mourns the love they once shared. And as Rama turns from the palace gates, his heart heavy with sorrow, he knows that the path ahead, though filled with duty and honor, will never again feel the same. The forest, which had once been filled with the sounds of sorrow and separation, now held a new rhythm. It was a place of quiet solitude, where time moved differently, where the dense trees whispered secrets to the wind, and the rivers hummed gently as they flowed over smooth stones. The air was cool, carrying the scent of earth and pine, and the peaceful silence of the forest enveloped Sita as she settled beneath the shade of a large banyan tree. Sita, though exiled from her home and separated from the man she loved, found comfort in the simplicity of nature. The trials of her life, the harshness of Ravana's captivity, and the pain of her exile felt far away here. It was as if the forest had become her sanctuary, offering her the peace she so desperately needed. Yet, even in this quiet place, a new chapter of her life was unfolding, one that would bring new hope into her heart. It was here, in the solitude of the forest, that Sita's joy was renewed. She gave birth to twin sons, Lava and Kusha, the new life that grew within her heart, filling the space left by all the sorrow she had endured. The birth of her children brought with it a peace that Sita had not known in years. As she cradled her newborn sons in her arms, she could feel their tiny hearts beating with life, and for the first time since her exile, she allowed herself to fully embrace the miracle of motherhood. The twins, though young, had already begun to bring a sense of light to the world around them. Their innocent laughter, their playful cries, were a sharp contrast to the sadness that had marked Sita's life until then. Each day, as the sun rose over the horizon and the birds began their songs, the forest echoed with the sound of the boys' laughter. Their energy, unburdened by the weight of the world, was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, life finds a way to begin anew. Sita, despite the weight of her memories, found herself lost in the simple joy of raising her children. The days passed quietly as she cared for them, nursing them under the canopy of trees, telling them stories of their father, of the kingdom they would one day return to. Though they were far from Ayodhya, far from their father, Sita never ceased to speak of Rama, the love she held for him never dimming in her heart. Her twins, small and fragile, had only heard the stories of their father, but they were surrounded by her love and devotion, a love that reached beyond the walls of their exile and into the heart of their existence. As the seasons changed and the twins grew, Sita found herself enveloped in the delicate balance of motherhood, tending to their needs, guiding them with gentle hands, and teaching them the ways of the world. Lava and Kusha, in their innocence, would run through the forest, laughing as they explored their surroundings. The forest, once a symbol of separation and pain, now became a place of growth and life. The days were filled with simple pleasures, as Sita watched her sons grow stronger and more curious about the world around them. There were moments of joy, when Lava and Kusha would find a hidden nest of birds or chase after a squirrel that darted through the trees. The sound of their little feet on the forest floor became the heartbeat of Sita's world. Her heart, which had once been broken, was now healed by the love she felt for her sons. And though she still carried the sorrow of her separation from Rama, her children brought a sense of purpose to her days. As the boys grew older, their playful spirits never faltered. Their laughter filled the forest as they learned to climb trees, mimic the sounds of animals, and run through the dense underbrush. Sita watched them with a heart full of pride, knowing that they were the living embodiment of her love and hope. Their bond with her deepened as they began to understand the world around them. She would tell them stories of Ayodhya, of their father, the great king who had promised to return for her, and the kingdom she had once called home. Lava and Kusha, with their innocent minds, listened intently, their eyes wide with wonder, unaware that the day would come when their fate would intertwine with that of their father. Though the peace of the forest had offered Sita solace, she knew that this peace was fleeting. The world beyond the forest was still there, and the promise of Rama's return, though it filled her heart with hope, was also filled with uncertainty. But for now, in this moment, Sita allowed herself to be fully immersed in the joys of motherhood, in the laughter of her sons, and in the deep love she felt for them. The forest was their home, a place where time seemed to stand still, and where the trials of the past were momentarily forgotten. As the boys continued to grow, Sita's love for them blossomed even further. They were her joy, her reason for moving forward, and they were everything she had hoped for in the face of all the pain. She saw in them the promise of a future that, one day, would bring them face to face with their father. But for now, they were her children, and that was enough. The forest, with its timeless serenity, became the setting of a new story, one of renewal and hope. And as Lava and Kusha's laughter echoed through the trees, the sound of their innocence and joy was a reminder that, despite all that had been lost, life continued to unfold, bringing with it new beginnings. Sita, as she held them close, felt the promise of that future. One day, her family would be whole again, and until that day, she would cherish every moment with her sons, knowing that the love between them was unbreakable. The quiet rhythm of the forest has long since become the backdrop of Sita's life, the passage of time marked by the laughter and growth of her twin sons, Lava and Kusha. They have become strong, skilled warriors, their days filled with training, learning the ways of the world, and growing into the very image of their father, brave, noble, and full of promise. The forest that had once been the place of sorrow and exile now stands as the cradle of their strength, a place where they have learned not only the art of combat, but also the values of dharma, of loyalty, and of love. As the twins grow older, they begin to hear more about the kingdom of Ayodhya, about the father they have never met, but who has always been present in their mother's stories. The time is coming when they will no longer be children of the forest, living in the shadow of exile, but sons of the kingdom, of the great King Rama. And yet, despite the stories, despite the teachings, the day of their reunion feels distant, an untouchable dream, something only whispered about in the quiet of the evening. But destiny has its own plans, and the time for the twins to meet their father arrives in an unexpected way. Rama, now the king of Ayodhya, is leading his forces through the kingdom in a campaign to solidify his rule. Yet the weight of his duties, of governing a kingdom filled with expectations, remains heavy. His heart still carries the sorrow of his separation from Sita, a wound that time has not healed. Yet, as the days pass, his resolve to protect his people, to ensure the kingdom's stability, takes precedence. It is during this time that Lava and Kusha, now young men, cross paths with Rama's army, their strength and courage testing the boundaries of their father's forces. The sound of clashing swords fills the air as they demonstrate their prowess in battle, the tension of war giving way to an unexpected recognition. Rama's army is caught off guard by the force of the young warriors, their skill unmatched by any he has seen before. At first, neither side understands the significance of the battle. They are warriors, locked in the throes of combat, unaware that this clash will lead to something far greater than mere victory or defeat. As the battle intensifies, a realization begins to stir within the hearts of those fighting on Rama's side. These warriors, so strong and fearless, carry with them a sense of familiarity. There is something about the way they fight, the way they carry themselves, that speaks of a deep connection, something that echoes in Rama's heart. And then, in the midst of the clash, the moment of revelation comes. As the dust settles and the sounds of battle fade, one of the young warriors steps forward, their identity finally revealed. Lava and Kusha, the sons of Rama and Sita, stand before him. The recognition strikes Rama with the force of a thunderclap. His heart, once cold with the sorrow of years spent in separation, suddenly fills with a joy so overwhelming that it momentarily stills the world around him. His sons, whom he has longed for, whom he had only imagined in fleeting dreams, stand before him, strong, proud, and unrecognizably familiar. The years of exile, the pain of being apart from his family, all fade away in this moment of profound reunion. Lava and Kusha, standing before their father, are overwhelmed by the sight of the man they have only known through the stories their mother told. They had heard of his strength, his valor, and his wisdom, but to stand in his presence, to feel the connection of blood and love, is something they could not have prepared for. Their hearts beat with excitement and reverence, and for a moment, the young warrior stands still, unsure of what to say or do. The battle that had defined the day is forgotten, replaced by the much deeper reunion between father and sons. Rama, his heart filled with both sorrow and joy, takes a step toward them, his voice thick with emotion. "You are my sons," he says, the words breaking through the silence between them. "I have waited for this moment, for the return of my family." His voice falters as he speaks, the weight of years apart pressing down on him. He reaches out to touch them, his hands trembling slightly, not with fear, but with the realization that his family is once again whole. The silence between them is filled with a deep, unspoken understanding. Lava and Kusha, though they have never known their father, feel the pull of kinship and love, their hearts recognizing in Rama the man they have always known in their souls. The bond between them is not one that can be broken by time or distance. Sita, watching from a distance, feels the stirrings of joy in her heart. Yet there is also a deep sorrow. The reunion between father and sons, so long awaited, is a moment of joy. Yet it is also marked by the pain of what she has endured, of the years spent apart from her beloved Rama. She watches, a silent witness to the reunion, knowing that her place in this family is still uncertain, though her love for Rama and their sons is unwavering. The sounds of joy begin to fill the air as the battle between father and sons gives way to laughter, to a celebration of the bond they share. The soldiers who had witnessed the battle now stand in awe, watching the reunion unfold with tears in their eyes. The unity of this family, forged through hardship and love, becomes the heart of Ayodhya once again. The chapter ends with a quiet, intimate moment. As the sun sets over the horizon, Rama, Sita, Lava, and Kusha stand together, the weight of the years of separation lifted by the powerful presence of family. The future is still uncertain, but in this moment, there is only love. They are whole again, and nothing, not even the trials of the past, can diminish the strength of their bond. The family is reunited, and in the stillness of the evening, their hearts beat as one. The days in Ayodhya have grown quiet, the kingdom flourishing under Rama's wise and just rule. The laughter of children in the streets, the hum of the market, and the peaceful flow of life all seem to confirm the balance that has been restored. Yet, even in this peace, Rama feels the weight of a different kind of duty, one that is not bound by the kingdom or its people, but by something far greater, the will of the gods and his place in the cosmic order. The time has come for him to leave, to fulfill the final step of his divine purpose. Rama's heart, though filled with love for his family and his people, carries a quiet acceptance. The realization that his journey on earth is nearing its end is not one of sorrow, but of understanding. He has lived the life he was meant to live, a life of righteousness, devotion, and sacrifice. He has faced trials that have tested his strength, his love, and his devotion to Dharma. Now, the call of the divine is clear, and the time for his departure is at hand. The royal palace, where Rama once sat upon the throne, now seems to stand still, as though the very walls understand that this chapter is closing. The halls, once filled with the sound of courtly discussions and the bustling of royal life, now echo with a silence that speaks of the inevitable. Rama stands by the window of his chambers, looking out over Ayodhya, his gaze lingering on the kingdom that he has protected for so long. The sun sets, casting a soft glow over the land, and for a moment, everything seems to pause in quiet reverence. His family, though they do not yet fully understand, feels the change in the air. Sita, ever by his side, senses the shift in his spirit. Their children, Lava and Kusha, though young, have inherited the strength of their father, and they too understand that this is a moment of profound transition. The bonds of love between them are unspoken, yet undeniable. They know, deep in their hearts, that the time has come for Rama to take his final journey. The earth trembles gently, as if the very ground beneath them is preparing to bid Rama farewell. The sky darkens slightly, and the celestial beings who have watched over his life begin to gather. The river Sarayu, which has long flowed peacefully through the kingdom, begins to ripple with a strange ethereal energy. It is the sign that Rama's time on earth is drawing to a close. His destiny, which has been intertwined with the fate of his people, is now complete. Rama, ever the embodiment of grace and composure, steps forward. He knows that this moment is not one of tragedy, but of fulfillment. His life has been one of dharma, and his final act will be to return to the divine realm from which he came. He has fulfilled his purpose, restored the balance, and led his people through their trials. Now, it is time for him to leave the mortal world and return to his true home. Sita, standing beside him, places her hand gently on his arm. Her heart, though heavy with the knowledge of what is to come, is filled with a quiet peace. She has always known that Rama's journey would not be bound by the earth. It was a journey that spanned realms. The love they shared, the trials they faced together, and the family they built are the legacy of his time on earth. She does not speak, for there are no words to express the depth of her love or the weight of this moment. Instead, she stands with him in silence, her heart entwined with his. The sounds of the kingdom fade into the background as Rama steps to the banks of the Sarayu river. The waters, once a quiet companion to the land, now seem to beckon him home. The river ripples with the energy of the divine, its waters glowing with an otherworldly light. Rama, with a final glance at his beloved city, takes his place at the river's edge. His heart is calm, his spirit ready to return to the source from which it came. With one final peaceful breath, Rama steps into the waters of the Sarayu, his form dissolving into the river, returning to the divine realms. The earth trembles once more, this time with the power of his departure, as the kingdom of Ayodhya falls silent. The light of the setting sun fades, and in its place, a quiet stillness settles over the land. Rama's departure marks the end of an era, a time of heroes, of kings who led with righteousness, of a kingdom ruled by justice and devotion. Yet, in his departure, there is no sorrow. His journey has been completed, his purpose fulfilled. He has left behind a legacy that will endure, a legacy of dharma, love, and unwavering devotion. The kingdom of Ayodhya will carry his teachings forward, and his name will be spoken for generations to come, a symbol of all that is good and just in the world. As the sun rises once more over the river Sarayu, the people of Ayodhya gather in quiet reverence, knowing that their king has returned to the divine. The sounds of mourning are tempered by the peace that fills the air, an acceptance that Rama, the embodiment of dharma, has completed his journey and returned to his rightful place. And so, the chapter of Rama's life on earth closes, not with the finality of death, but with the peaceful return of a soul that has fulfilled its divine purpose. The world, forever changed by his presence, now continues without him, but with the knowledge that his legacy, his teachings, and his love will never fade. The kingdom of Ayodhya and the hearts of its people carry forward the light of his rule, ever guided by the principles he lived by: justice, duty, and love. The days following Rama's ascension to the throne in Ayodhya were filled with a sense of renewal and calm. The kingdom, which had once been shaken by internal strife and external threats, now stood strong under the guidance of its new ruler. The sounds of the marketplace were filled with lively chatter, the air rich with the fragrance of blooming flowers, and the bustling streets echoed with the footsteps of citizens who felt secure in their homes. The people of Ayodhya, once weary from years of war and uncertainty, now found peace in the knowledge that Rama, their beloved prince, was their king. Rama ruled not with the desire for power, but with a deep sense of divine purpose. His decisions were made not for personal gain, but for the welfare of his people, and his wisdom became the foundation upon which his reign was built. Every decision he made was guided by dharma, the eternal path of righteousness that had shaped his life since the moment he was born. His approach to leadership was marked by fairness, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to justice. The royal court, once filled with whispers of uncertainty, now thrived under his steady hand. Despite the peace that seemed to settle over the kingdom, there was an underlying tension that grew with the passing of time. While Rama's reign was widely respected, the very act of leadership began to take its toll on him. His heart, heavy with the sorrow of separation from Sita and the unresolved tension within his family, found little solace in the quiet halls of the palace. His role as a king required him to be a figure of strength and resolve, yet within him there was still a yearning for the family he had lost. His thoughts often turned to Sita and his sons, whose faces, though distant, were always present in his heart. The personal cost of kingship was high, and the weight of it settled on his shoulders, even as he guided his kingdom toward prosperity. The court, filled with dignitaries and advisors, hummed with activity, and the palace had become a place of both political maneuvering and sacred duty. Rama, surrounded by counsel, listened to the concerns of his people and the reports of his advisors. He made decisions with quiet confidence, yet the underlying current of his inner turmoil never fully dissipated. He was bound by his duty to uphold the laws of the kingdom, to protect the people who depended on him. But he also carried within him the unspoken weight of his personal sacrifices, his love for Sita, the pain of their separation, and the uncertainty of what lay ahead for his family. As the months passed, Rama began to realize that while he had restored peace to Ayodhya, the challenges of leadership were far from over. The kingdom, though stable, was beginning to show signs of internal unrest. Dissatisfaction simmered among certain factions within the court, and the murmurs of dissent were starting to rise. There were whispers about the direction of Rama's rule, about his decisions, and about his family. While the people of Ayodhya admired their king, there were those who questioned the cost of his leadership, wondering if the sacrifices he had made, especially in matters of the heart, would come to affect his ability to rule with the same clarity and fairness. Rama's ability to navigate these rising tensions would soon be put to the test. His wisdom and his deep understanding of dharma would guide him, but even he knew that the challenges he faced as a ruler would be unlike any battle he had fought before. The winds of change were beginning to stir in the kingdom, and the peaceful reign he had worked so hard to establish was now threatened by the growing uncertainty within the court. Despite the external peace, the subtle currents of internal strife began to pull at the foundation of his rule. As he sat in the palace contemplating the matters of the kingdom, his thoughts would often wander to his family. The absence of Sita, though a deep ache in his heart, had also become a part of his duty as a king. The emotional burden he carried was not only personal, but also a reflection of the weight of his responsibilities. And with each passing day, the realization grew stronger. His leadership would be defined not only by his victories on the battlefield, but by his ability to navigate the complexities of ruling with integrity, compassion, and justice. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the challenges of leadership became clearer. The court's whispers grew louder, and the pressure on Rama to reconcile the duty he owed to his kingdom with the unhealed wounds of his personal life intensified. His reign, though peaceful on the surface, was now marked by the growing tension between his role as a ruler and the sacrifices that role demanded. But Rama, ever the embodiment of strength and wisdom, carried these burdens with quiet dignity. He continued to rule with compassion and fairness, always guided by the principles of dharma that had shaped his life. Yet, as the horizon ahead grew darker with the uncertainty of what was to come, Rama knew that his journey as a king had only just begun. The path of leadership, though filled with moments of peace, would also be filled with trials that would test his resolve and his commitment to the greater good of his people. And so, as Rama stood before his court, his gaze steady and his heart unwavering, he prepared himself for the challenges that would come. The peace of his reign might be fragile, But his dedication to dharma, his duty to his people and to his own soul, was unshakable. The story of his reign was still being written, and though the road ahead was uncertain, he would face it with the same courage, wisdom, and strength that had carried him through every trial before. The kingdom of Ayodhya flourished under Rama's reign, its streets bustling with life, and the royal court filled with the sounds of daily governance. The people of Ayodhya, secure in the peace Rama had established, admired their king not only for his bravery in battle, but for his wisdom and sense of justice. Yet, even as Rama carried out his duties with grace and dedication, the weight of his responsibilities began to grow heavier with each passing day. His heart, though full of love for his kingdom and his people, also carried the weight of the personal sacrifices he had made. In the throne room, the court was alive with activity, advisors speaking in low tones, dignitaries from neighboring kingdoms presenting their petitions, and ministers offering counsel. The sounds of parchment being unrolled, of voices speaking in urgency, filled the air as Rama listened with unwavering attention, addressing each matter with a thoughtful and measured response. His leadership, steady and decisive, was admired by all, but beneath his calm exterior, the toll of constant responsibility began to take its toll. Rama's days were long, consumed by the duties of ruling a vast and prosperous kingdom. Yet, in the stillness of the palace at night, when the corridors were quiet and the sounds of the court had faded, he would often find himself reflecting on the delicate balance between his duty as a ruler and his own personal happiness. The sacrifices that came with kingship were not always visible to his people, but they weighed heavily on his soul. The calls of duty, the constant pressure to make decisions that would affect the lives of so many, often left him feeling isolated. Rama knew that his role as a king was sacred, that his primary duty was to the kingdom, to the people who depended on him for guidance and protection. Yet, there were moments when the weight of the crown seemed too much to bear. As a husband, he had made sacrifices too. The distance that had grown between him and Sita, the heartache of their separation, weighed on him more than he had ever expressed aloud. His love for her was undiminished, but the expectations of his position, the judgments of the people, the whispers of the court, had forced him to make decisions that tore at his heart. And though he had seen the strength in his sons, Lava and Kusha, and knew that they had inherited the very best of him, a part of him longed to be with them more, to be the father he had always wished to be. It was in these moments of reflection, when the palace was bathed in the quiet of the night, that Rama would grapple with his inner conflict. His love for Sita was unwavering, but he could not escape the harsh reality that his role as king required him to make difficult choices. Choices that often meant sacrificing his own desires. The tension between his duty to the kingdom and his personal happiness was a constant presence in his life. He was the protector of his people, yet he could not protect his own heart from the demands placed upon it. As the court continued its daily rhythms, council meetings, petitions, and royal matters, the weight of Rama's inner turmoil remained a quiet, ever-present companion. His public persona as a just and wise king stood in stark contrast to the private pain he felt. He could no longer deny that the responsibilities of leadership were not only about external matters of state, but also about the personal costs of wearing the crown. There were days when the throne felt more like a burden than an honor, and nights when the silence of his chambers felt like a cold reminder of what had been lost. In the midst of this tension, Rama would often seek solace in the teachings of Dharma, turning to the scriptures and meditating in the solitude of his chambers. His deep connection to Dharma, his unwavering commitment to justice, was the one constant that gave him strength. Yet, even as he sought peace in his spiritual practices, he could not escape the nagging sense of conflict that filled his heart. Was it enough to rule with wisdom and integrity? Could he truly reconcile his duties as a ruler with his role as a husband and father? The sounds of the court, the meetings, the reports continued unabated, and Rama, with his steady resolve, continued to shoulder the weight of the kingdom's needs. Yet, there were days when he would steal away from the hustle and bustle of the palace, seeking the quiet of the gardens, where the rustle of the leaves and the soft chirping of birds could offer him a fleeting sense of peace. But even in these moments of tranquility, the question lingered in his mind: could he ever find balance between his heart and his kingdom? Rama knew that leadership required sacrifices, but as the days stretched on, the cost began to feel more personal. The laughter of his children, the touch of his wife, the joy of a life lived with family, these were all distant dreams, faint memories of a time before the crown had come to define his every waking hour. His duty to the people of Ayodhya had become intertwined with the sacrifices he had made in his personal life, and he could not escape the tension between the two. As time passed, the court continued its bustling rhythm, but within Rama's heart, the weight of leadership grew heavier. His resolve was tested daily as he navigated the political challenges of ruling a vast empire. Yet beneath the demands of his kingship, he was still a man torn between his love for his family and his duty to his people. The tension between his public role and private desires simmered beneath the surface, threatening to spill over into the quiet moments of his life. This internal conflict, this delicate balance between personal happiness and duty, set the stage for the trials to come. The pressures of ruling a kingdom would continue to test Rama in ways he had never anticipated. And as he sat upon his throne, the sounds of the court surrounding him, he could not help but wonder how long he could continue to carry the weight of both worlds. The coming days would bring with them new challenges, both from within his own heart and from the external pressures of governance. But for now, Rama continued to lead with integrity, meditating on dharma, preparing for the trials that were soon to follow. The palace of Ayodhya, which had once been filled with the joy of Rama and Sita's reunion, now stood still under the weight of silence. Despite the peace that had returned to the kingdom, the echoes of the court's whispers and the lingering suspicions about Sita's purity had never fully faded. The trial she had endured, the sacrifice of her exile, and the fire trial had proven her devotion to Rama, but the judgment of the people could not be easily erased. Rama, though deeply in love with Sita, was a king, and the weight of the throne was ever pressing upon him. The kingdom's expectations, the duty he owed to his people, left him with little room to grieve for the woman he loved, even as his heart ached in silence. But fate, as it always does, had a way of pulling the strings of destiny, and Rama's sorrow would soon be eclipsed by an even deeper loss. One fateful day, as Rama sat in the royal gardens, pondering the weight of his kingship, Sita approached him. Her face, once filled with the light of hope and joy, now carried an unmistakable sadness. There was a quiet grace in her step, a peace that seemed to emanate from her, as if she had already come to terms with something that Rama had not yet fully understood. Her love for him, unwavering as it had always been, was now leading her toward a final, painful departure. "I have endured much, my lord," Sita said, her voice gentle but firm. "And now I must return to the earth from where I came." Rama's heart seized in his chest at her words, but he could not speak. His thoughts raced as the truth of what she was saying began to settle into his mind. The judgment of the people, the constant weight of the kingdom's doubts, had taken its toll on Sita's spirit. Despite the purity she had proven in the fire, despite the love that still burned between them, the external forces of public opinion had finally driven her to a decision from which there was no return. Sita continued, her gaze fixed on the ground as though in quiet acceptance. "I cannot bear the weight of this world, my love. The earth calls to me, and I must return to my divine origin." In that moment, the sounds of the palace, the murmurs of the court, and the bustling life of the kingdom around them all seemed to fade into a distant murmur. Rama's heart broke as he realized what was happening. The woman he had loved, the woman who had endured so much for him, was now preparing to leave him forever. His voice caught in his throat, but no words came. He stood silently, watching as she stepped toward the earth, the very ground that had birthed her. The earth, in its divine compassion, responded to her call. The ground beneath her feet began to tremble, and the air around them seemed to shift. In the soft light of the evening, a glowing radiance enveloped Sita as she slowly sank into the earth, her body dissolving into the embrace of the soil. The earth, in its infinite grace, took her back, accepting her into its eternal fold. The ground closed over her, and with it, the last trace of Sita's presence in the physical world vanished. Rama stood motionless, his heart torn apart by the loss of the woman who had been his everything. The sounds of the palace seemed so distant now, muted, like a fading echo that could no longer reach his ears. The grief that swelled in his chest felt all-consuming, a weight that threatened to crush him. He had lost her once before, to Ravana's clutches, and had fought with every ounce of his being to bring her back. But now, this loss was final, and the emptiness that remained felt deeper than any battle he had fought. Rama fell to his knees, the quiet of the evening broken only by the sound of his heart breaking. The weight of his kingship, of his duty to his people, seemed insignificant in this moment. The love he had for Sita had always been his guiding force, but now it felt as though the very foundation of his existence had been shaken. He had fulfilled his role as king, had upheld the law, and had brought peace to his kingdom, but at what cost? His family, his love, was lost to him again. Yet, amidst the grief, there was a strange sense of peace. The earth had taken Sita back into its embrace, and Rama knew, deep within his heart, that she had returned to her divine origin. She was no longer bound by the trials of the mortal world, the judgment of the people, or the weight of his kingship. She was free to return to the divinity from which she had come. As the night fell over Ayodhya, the moon rising high in the sky, Rama stood alone in the quiet of the royal gardens. His heart was heavy with sorrow, but there was also a quiet understanding. Sita had found peace, and though he would forever carry the pain of their separation, he knew that her journey had come to an end, as had his own. The palace, once filled with the sounds of laughter and the joys of reunion, now stood still. The weight of loss lingered in the air, but in Rama's heart there was a quiet acceptance that this was the way of the world. Love, as pure and powerful as it was, could not shield them from the forces of fate. And though the path ahead was uncertain, the loss of Sita marked the end of an era, the end of a chapter that had defined his life. As the last traces of the earth closed over her, Rama turned inward, contemplating the meaning of love and loss. He knew that his journey was far from over, but in this moment of silence, he was left to grapple with the depth of his grief. His love for Sita would never fade, but now, in her absence, he would have to find a way to continue, to carry forward the lessons she had taught him and the love they had shared. The world around him would continue to turn, but for Rama, this was the moment when his personal journey too would begin anew. The days in Ayodhya had grown quieter in the wake of Sita's departure, as the kingdom, though still thriving, felt the absence of its queen. Rama's reign had been one of justice, peace and sacrifice, but in the solitude of his heart, the weight of loss was something he could not escape. Despite his unwavering commitment to duty, the shadows of grief had followed him, and he now felt the weight of his earthly existence more deeply than ever before. Rama, as always, had fulfilled his role as king with the highest sense of responsibility. His decisions, though often difficult, were guided by his devotion to dharma, the path of righteousness. Yet, even in the glow of his accomplishments, he knew that his time on earth had come to an end. His mission, his divine purpose, was now complete. The kingdom was secure, his people at peace, and the legacy of his rule would be carried on by his sons, Lava and Kusha. But as the river of time flowed steadily on, Rama felt the pull of something greater, something beyond the mortal world. The sound of the river Sarayu, always present in the background of Ayodhya, now seemed to call to him more strongly than ever. The river, with its eternal flow, symbolized the passage of time and the return to the divine. It was on the banks of this river that Rama had first walked as a young prince, and it would now be the place where his journey on earth would come to its natural close. As the evening light began to fade, Rama stood alone on the banks of the Sarayu. The air was cool and still, the sound of the flowing water calm and soothing. The trees that lined the riverbank rustled softly in the evening breeze, their leaves whispering the secrets of the ages. The world around him seemed to stand still, as though in quiet anticipation of the moment that was about to unfold. Rama's heart was at peace. His duty had been fulfilled, his trials had been faced, and now, in this moment of quiet solitude, he was ready to return to his divine abode. The weight of his years on earth, the challenges, the heartaches, and the sacrifices all seemed to fade into the background as he stood at the water's edge. His thoughts, once filled with the concerns of ruling a kingdom and the pain of separation, were now clear and serene. He had walked the path of dharma, had lived as a king, a husband, and a father. His life, though filled with both triumph and loss, had been guided by the principle of righteousness. And now, with a quiet breath, he knew it was time to leave the mortal realm. As Rama stood by the river, the sound of the flowing water seemed to mirror the steady beat of his heart. The calm of the evening, the gentle flow of the sarayu, the rustling of the trees, all these natural sounds blended together, creating a serene atmosphere that filled him with a profound sense of peace. The noise of the court, the challenges of kingship, the grief of his personal losses, all of it now seemed distant, far away from the quiet of this moment. Here, at the river's edge, Rama was free from the burdens of rule, free from the pain of his personal sacrifices, free to return to the divine. Rama knew that his departure from the earth was not an end, but a transition. His physical form, which had walked the land of Ayodhya and endured countless trials, would now return to its divine source. He had fulfilled his purpose on earth, and his time among mortals was complete. As he looked out over the river, the reflection of the setting sun rippling on the water's surface, he felt the connection to the divine realm that had always been within him. This was his return to the source, a journey that would take him beyond the confines of this world and into the eternal. With one last look at the kingdom he had ruled so faithfully, Rama stepped into the river. The cool water lapped at his feet, as though welcoming him home. He moved forward, feeling the weight of his body lighten, as though the very river was lifting him from the earth. The sounds of the world around him faded, replaced by a deep sense of serenity. The earth, the sky, and the river all seemed to embrace him in this final moment, as if they had always known that this was the way it was meant to be. As Rama stepped deeper into the river, his body began to dissolve, his form returning to its divine origin. The light of his being, the essence of his soul, merged with the divine energies of the universe. There was no fear in this moment, no regret. There was only a deep and abiding peace, a knowing that his journey on earth had been completed, and that his divine purpose had been fulfilled. The river Sarayu, once a symbol of the passage of time, now became the bridge between the mortal world and the divine. Rama's departure marked the end of an era for Ayodhya, an era of righteousness, love, and sacrifice. The kingdom he had led so well would continue, and his legacy would live on through his sons, Lava and Kusha, and through the teachings of Dharma that had shaped his reign. As Rama's form faded from the mortal realm, the sounds of the river and the rustling trees continued, as though the world itself had paused in reverence for the departure of the great king. The chapter of his life on earth had closed, and the next chapter, the divine one, was about to begin. And so, the legacy of Rama, the king, the warrior, the embodiment of Dharma, would live on, not in the stones of Ayodhya, not in the records of history, but in the hearts and souls of all who followed the path of righteousness. The sun set gently over the kingdom of Ayodhya, casting long shadows across the land. The city, which had once thrived under Rama's rule, now stood in mourning. The streets were quieter than they had been in years, the absence of their king casting a pall over the lively marketplace and the royal gardens. Yet, even in the depths of their grief, the people of Ayodhya could feel something profound, an enduring peace that had been instilled in the kingdom by Rama's reign. Though he was no longer with them in body, his spirit, his teachings, and the example of his life remained woven into the very fabric of the kingdom. Rama's legacy was not one that could be erased by time. It had been built not on wealth or power, but on righteousness, truth, and devotion to dharma, the very principles that had guided him throughout his life. And so, as the people of Ayodhya gathered in quiet reverence, they knew that their king's influence would never fade. His presence lived on in the laws he had set, in the justice he had upheld, and in the hearts of those who had been touched by his wisdom and compassion. In the royal court, where decisions once made by Rama had shaped the destiny of the kingdom, the ministers and advisors now spoke of how to carry his vision forward. Though they mourned his passing, they were resolute in their determination to honor the path he had set. The echoes of Rama's leadership still reverberated through the marble halls, and his teachings were carried forward in every decision made for the people. The laws of the kingdom were infused with the values he had upheld: justice, fairness, and compassion for all. His example guided the rulers who followed him, ensuring that the kingdom of Ayodhya would continue to thrive with the same integrity that had defined his reign. Outside the palace walls, the influence of Rama's rule reached the simplest of homes. The people of Ayodhya, from the humblest laborer to the wealthiest merchant, felt the profound effect of his leadership. Stories of his strength, his compassion, and his unwavering devotion to righteousness were passed from one generation to the next. Parents spoke of Rama as the ideal, the model of a king, a father, and a husband. His life, filled with trials and triumphs, had taught the people of Ayodhya that dharma was not just a set of rules to follow, but a way of life, one that brought harmony and peace to both the individual and the community. In the villages, the simple folk continued their work, but their hearts were shaped by the lessons they had learned from their king. Rama's example had shown them that true strength was not in the power to conquer, but in the ability to uphold justice, to act with compassion, and to remain devoted to the higher purpose of life. The principles he had instilled into the very foundation of Ayodhya had become part of the air they breathed, part of the stories they told, and part of the lives they lived. Though his reign had ended, the spiritual continuity of his legacy had only just begun. Rama's divine essence lived on, not just in the hearts of his people, but in the world itself. His life, a perfect embodiment of dharma, would inspire generations to come. His teachings would spread far beyond the borders of Ayodhya, reaching distant lands and peoples, for his story was not one confined to a single kingdom, but one that transcended time and space. His life was a beacon, lighting the way for those who sought truth, justice, and love. The years passed, but Rama's influence never waned. The kingdom of Ayodhya, though faced with its own struggles and changes, remained a land of peace and prosperity. His children, Lava and Kusha, grew in strength and wisdom, carrying forth the teachings of their father. They ruled with the same integrity and devotion that Rama had shown, continuing the legacy he had left behind. In the temples of Ayodhya, the priests continued to offer prayers to Rama, not as a king who had once lived, but as a divine presence who still watched over them. His name, sung in the sacred hymns, became a symbol of the eternal connection between the earthly realm and the divine. The people of Ayodhya, both near and far, continued to worship him, remembering him not just for his accomplishments, but for the purity of his soul, the strength of his character, and the love he had shown to all. As time moved forward, the story of Lord Rama became a spiritual guide to all who sought to live according to dharma. His life, his struggles, and his triumphs became lessons for those who faced their own challenges. The epic of his reign was retold in song, in poetry, and in the hearts of the people, each retelling a new chapter of inspiration and guidance. Rama's legacy was not just of a kingdom built on justice, but of a life lived with the highest ideals: devotion to duty, sacrifice, love, and faith. His was a legacy that would never be forgotten, for it was more than the story of a king. It was the story of a divine being who had walked among men, showing them the way to live with honor and righteousness. As his name continued to echo through the halls of history, the world would always carry the light of his teachings, the peace of his reign, and the love of his soul. And so, the legacy of Lord Rama endured, a shining example for all generations to follow, a reminder that no matter the trials or tribulations faced, the path of Dharma would always lead to peace. The kingdom of Ayodhya, once ruled by Rama, now found its future in the hands of his sons, Lava and Kusha. Though young, they carried with them the weight of their father's legacy, a legacy steeped in divine purpose and righteousness. Theirs was a world filled with stories, stories of valor, wisdom, and sacrifice, tales of a king who had guided his people through trials and triumphs. These stories, told lovingly by their mother Sita, were the bedrock of their childhood. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Sita would gather them around, and with a tender smile, she would recount their father's greatness, the battles he fought, the love he shared, and the integrity that defined his reign. For Lava and Kusha, these stories were more than just words. They were the foundation of their identity, the tapestry that shaped their understanding of the world. They grew up with the warmth of their mother's love, the laughter of childhood echoing through the forest, and the belief that one day they would carry forward the mantle of their father's divine purpose. The purity and innocence of their youth were evident in every moment they shared. Whether they were running through the woods, chasing each other with joyful abandon, or sitting by the fire, listening to Sita's soft voice as she painted the image of their father before their eyes. In those moments, the world was a simple place. The forest was their playground, and Sita was their world. Her devotion to their father was evident in everything she did, her love for him still alive, despite the years of separation. Yet, despite the warmth of their home and the love they shared, there was always the unspoken knowledge that they lived in a world forever marked by their father's absence. Rama, the great king, was gone. The very air of Ayodhya seemed to carry the memory of him, but the reality of his departure weighed heavily on their young hearts. They were children born into greatness, and though their hearts were light with the innocence of youth, they carried within them the understanding that one day they would face the expectations and responsibilities that came with their lineage. As they grew, the contrast between the carefree nature of their childhood and the heavy expectations of their future began to emerge. The playful moments, the laughter, and the lightheartedness of their days spent in the forest could not shield them from the reality of their destiny. The sounds of their laughter and joy, though pure, began to blend with the unspoken understanding that they were heirs to a legacy of greatness, and that, one day, they would be called to fulfill the divine purpose set before them by their father. Lava and Kusha had inherited their father's strength, his courage, and his wisdom, but they were also deeply shaped by the love and teachings of their mother. Sita, though forever grieving her lost love, had poured every ounce of her being into raising her sons with the ideals and virtues that defined Rama's reign. She had taught them the importance of dharma, of living with integrity, and of placing the well-being of others above their own desires. Her love for them was unwavering, and as they grew older, Lava and Kusha began to understand the depths of the sacrifices she had made, the pain of her exile, the loss of Rama, and the weight of raising two children alone in the shadow of her past. But for all the sorrow that shaped their lives, there was also a quiet strength in Lava and Kusha. They had been born into a world of divine purpose, and as they trained in the arts of war, as they learned from their mother and the sages who came to the forest, they began to realize that the time would come when they would have to step into the world their father had once ruled. They would not merely be children of the forest. They were the heirs to a kingdom, to a legacy that had been built on the foundation of truth, justice, and love. The sounds of their playful moments, the moments of innocence in their youth, began to give way to the heavier responsibilities that loomed on the horizon. Though they were still children, still innocent in their hearts, Lava and Kusha knew that their future was bound to the divine path laid before them. Their strength was not only in their bodies, but in the wisdom they had inherited from both their parents. The forest which had sheltered them and nurtured their youth would soon be left behind as they prepared to embrace their destiny. As they matured, the time for action came. Their father's kingdom, Ayodhya, called to them. a kingdom that had always been the heart of their heritage. The stories of their father's reign, the victories he had won, and the ideals he had upheld would no longer be mere tales. They would be the foundation of their own lives. The gentle winds of their youth began to shift, and with it, the realization that they must now fulfill their divine purpose in the world that awaited them. But for now, as Lava and Kusha stood side by side, the weight of the future not yet fully upon them, there was still time for one last moment of innocence. The sound of their laughter echoed through the forest one last time, a sweet reminder of the purity of their youth before the weight of the world descended upon them. The time of childhood would soon fade, but the love of their mother and the stories of their father would live on within them, guiding them on the path that lay ahead. As they turned their gaze toward the distant kingdom of Ayodhya, their hearts were filled with both reverence and anticipation. The kingdom awaited the return of its royal heirs, but Lava and Kusha knew that the legacy of their father, Lord Rama, would live on in them, carrying forth the light of dharma and righteousness, even in the face of the challenges to come. The echoes of their laughter, their childhood, would be replaced with the responsibility of their divine inheritance, and in time, they would carry forward the torch of their father's rule. In the peaceful halls of Ayodhya, where the sounds of the royal court had once echoed with the busyness of political matters, now the quiet murmur of lessons being taught filled the air. The young princes, Lava and Kusha, were no longer just children of the forest. They were heirs to a kingdom, the weight of leadership now beginning to rest on their shoulders. With the passing of time, their training had become more rigorous, and in the pursuit of wisdom, they found themselves seeking guidance from the sage Vasishta, the wise and revered advisor who had been a constant presence in the life of Lord Rama. Vasishta, a sage of unmatched wisdom, had long been a trusted guide to the royal family. His teachings, deeply rooted in the principles of dharma, were not just lessons in governance, but in life itself. To him, knowledge was not just a tool for ruling, but the key to living a life aligned with the divine will. His voice, calm and steady, would echo through the halls of the palace as he imparted the sacred texts and philosophies that had shaped Rama's reign. The scriptures, rich with teachings of the gods and the cosmic order, would fill the space with a sense of serenity, and the young princes would listen intently, their minds absorbing the wisdom of their forebears. As the days passed, the sound of Vasishta's teachings became a constant, almost meditative presence in the royal palace. His lessons, always delivered with patience and clarity, sought to shape not just the minds of Lava and Kusha, but their hearts as well. The study of dharma, of leadership, and of righteous rule was not merely academic. It was the essence of their future roles as rulers of Ayodhya. To rule justly was to understand the world beyond the material, to recognize the divine thread that bound all of existence together. The young princes, though still learning, were beginning to understand the weight of their father's legacy. Vasishta's presence was a steady reminder that wisdom, above all, would guide them through the trials they would face. His teachings on the balance of duty and personal sacrifice, on the virtues of patience and compassion, and on the importance of living in harmony with dharma were shaping them into leaders of substance. These were not lessons that could be learned in a day, but truths that would unfold over a lifetime. One afternoon, as the sun cast its golden light over the palace, Vasishta gathered Lava and Kusha for a lesson in the royal gardens. The air was thick with the fragrance of jasmine and sandalwood, and the sound of the breeze rustling through the trees added a soft backdrop to the sage's words. As they sat in the shade of a great banyan tree, Vasishta spoke of the divine nature of kingship and the responsibilities that came with it. He told them stories of great kings who had ruled with wisdom and justice, and those who had faltered in the face of temptation and pride. Dharma is the path that leads to both peace and strength, Vasishta said, his voice serene but filled with an undeniable power. To be a king is to be a servant of the people. Your rule should not be driven by personal desires, but by the well-being of those you govern. True strength is found in selfless service. Lava and Kusha listened intently, absorbing every word. The lessons were not always easy, for the path of dharma was often complicated, filled with choices that required both strength and sacrifice. But as the young princes looked to Vasishtha, they saw the embodiment of a wisdom that had transcended time. It was clear to them that their father, Lord Rama, had walked this very path, guided by the teachings of this wise sage. In these quiet moments of reflection, the young princes began to understand the greater significance of their father's reign. Rama had not ruled for the glory of his own name, but to fulfill a divine purpose. His leadership, grounded in the eternal values of truth, justice, and compassion, was not just a model for kingship, it was a beacon for all who sought to live a righteous life. And it was this very legacy that Lava and Kusha would one day carry forward. As Vasishtha continued to impart the teachings of Dharma, the sound of scriptures being recited became like a soft, rhythmic chant echoing through the royal gardens. These words, ancient and sacred, carried the wisdom of the gods themselves, and as they filled the air, they seemed to reverberate with the eternal truths that govern not just the kingdom of Ayodhya, but the entire cosmos. In these moments, Lava and Kusha came to understand that their journey was not just about ruling a kingdom, it was about carrying forward the divine purpose set forth by their father, Lord Rama. His teachings, passed down through the sage Vasishtha, would be the foundation of their own reign. But more than that, they would serve as the guiding light for their souls, leading them on the path of righteousness, just as Rama had walked before them. The lessons in the garden, the recitation of the sacred texts, the stories of divine kingship, all of it was shaping the princes into leaders who understood the true meaning of dharma. They were not just heirs to a throne, they were heirs to a divine legacy, one that had been passed down through the generations by the gods themselves. As the lessons continued, the stillness of the evening would fall over the palace, and Lava and Kusha would retreat to their chambers, their minds filled with the wisdom of Vasishtha. The weight of their future reign weighed on them, but in their hearts, they knew that the teachings of Dharma would guide them through whatever trials lay ahead. The influence of Vasishtha, with his calm presence and his eternal wisdom, continued to shape the royal family of Ayodhya. His teachings were not just about ruling, they were about understanding the deeper spiritual truths that underpinned all of existence. And as Lava and Kusha grew into their roles as princes, they would carry the wisdom of their father, Lord Rama, and the sage Vasishtha forward, ensuring that the divine legacy of Dharma would continue to guide the kingdom of Ayodhya for generations to come. As the chapter drew to a close, the quiet wisdom of the sage Vasishtha echoed in the air, a gentle reminder that the true legacy of Lord Rama was not one of power or conquest, but of wisdom, righteousness, and the eternal pursuit of Dharma. Though Rama had ascended to the divine realm, his presence remained deeply etched in the hearts of the people of Ayodhya. His reign, which had been marked by wisdom, strength, and unwavering devotion to Dharma, had not ended with his physical departure. Instead, it was woven into the fabric of everyday life, where his ideals lived on in the rituals, prayers, and teachings that continued to guide the kingdom. His essence had transcended time and space, lingering in the air like the fragrance of jasmine that filled the royal gardens, like the sounds of the river Sarayu flowing gently through the city. The people of Ayodhya, though now governed by new rulers, still honored Rama in every facet of their lives. The royal court, though changed, continued to uphold the principles of justice and righteousness that had defined his reign. The laws he had established, founded on the eternal truths of Dharma, continued to govern the kingdom with fairness and integrity. But beyond the structures of power, it was in the daily lives of the people that his presence was most deeply felt. Every morning, as the sun rose over the city, the streets of Ayodhya filled with the soft sounds of chanting. The priests gathered at the temples to offer prayers to Rama, invoking his name in reverence. In the humble homes of the kingdom, families would gather to honor the memory of the great king. The rituals, once established by Rama himself, had become an integral part of daily life. The recitation of his name, the singing of his praises, and the performance of sacred rites kept his memory alive, not as a distant king, but as a living presence in their hearts. The sounds of life in Ayodhya, children playing in the streets, the hum of the marketplace, the steady rhythm of the river, carried with them an underlying peace, a sense of continuity that was rooted in Rama's ideals. His reign may have ended, but his spiritual presence lingered, a beacon of light for all who sought to live a life of truth, justice, and compassion. The everyday actions of the people, from their work to their prayers, were infused with the values he had embodied, and his memory became a source of strength and guidance for every generation that followed. In the homes of Ayodhya, families continued to teach their children the stories of Rama, his courage in battle, his unwavering devotion to dharma, and the love he had shown for his wife, his kingdom, and his people. The children grew up knowing the significance of their great king, and the values of loyalty, honesty, and compassion were passed down through generations like a sacred inheritance. It was not just the stories of his victories that were shared, but the wisdom he had imparted, how to live with integrity, how to balance duty with love, and how to stand firm in the face of adversity. As the years passed, the temples of Ayodhya became the center of not only worship but reflection. Pilgrims from distant lands journeyed to the Gandhi city, seeking to connect with the divine presence of Rama, whose life had been an example of righteous living. The sounds of prayer and meditation filled the air, echoing through the grand halls of the temples, and the worshippers could feel the presence of Rama's essence in every corner. The rituals, which had been performed during his reign, now served as a living testament to his enduring influence. But beyond the rituals and the prayers, the true spiritual continuity of Rama's life was reflected in the hearts of the people. His actions, his sacrifices, and his unwavering devotion to dharma had become the foundation upon which their lives were built. In every act of kindness, in every decision made with integrity, in every moment of selfless service, the spirit of Rama lived on. His legacy was not confined to the pages of history or the stories told in the royal courts. It was alive in the very soul of the kingdom, in the choices of its people. As the kingdom continued to prosper, the narrative of Rama's life and actions began to take on a spiritual dimension that reached beyond the earthly realm. His life was no longer just the story of a king, but the embodiment of divine principles that transcended time and place. The path he had walked, one of devotion, righteousness, and sacrifice, became a universal model for all who sought to live a life of virtue. His actions had set into motion a ripple effect that would continue to spread, inspiring those who would come after him to uphold the ideals of dharma. In every prayer offered, in every offering made at the temples, in every act of compassion shown to others, the spirit of Rama was felt. It was not a presence that could be measured by the physical world, but a divine influence that moved through the hearts of those who remembered him. His life had transcended the boundaries of mortality, and his teachings continued to guide the moral compass of the kingdom. And so, as the people of Ayodhya continued to live their lives, the legacy of Lord Rama remained ever present in their thoughts and actions. His ideals, his love for his people, and his unwavering commitment to dharma remained the heart of the kingdom. As the river Sarayu flowed through Ayodhya, so too did the teachings of Rama flow through the lives of his people, shaping their world with the same grace, wisdom, and righteousness that had defined his reign. As the days turned to years, the memory of Lord Rama was no longer bound to a single moment in history. His essence had become eternal, woven into the very fabric of the kingdom, living on in the hearts of all who sought to follow the path of dharma. And with every prayer, every act of kindness, and every decision made in the name of righteousness, the spirit of Lord Rama continued to guide the world, lighting the way for those who walked in his footsteps. As the years passed and the echoes of Lord Rama's physical presence faded into the distant past, his legacy grew ever more powerful in the hearts of his followers. From the wise sages who meditated in the solitude of the mountains, to the common folk who lived in the villages and towns, Rama's teachings reached all corners of the land, inspiring countless souls on their spiritual journeys. The stories of his life, particularly the sacred Ramayana, became the guiding light for those seeking to live righteously, offering wisdom and solace in the face of life's trials. The air in Ayodhya and the surrounding regions was often filled with the sound of chanting, a constant reverberation of Rama's name that seemed to echo through every temple, every home, and even the streets. Devotees, both learned and unlearned, would gather at dawn to offer their prayers and meditations in his honor. The recitation of the Ramayana became a sacred practice, as families and communities read from its verses, learning from the profound lessons of Rama's life. The text, revered not only as a story of divine action, but as a spiritual manual, became central to the lives of all who sought to follow the righteous path. The chanting of Rama's name, known as the Rama Nama, was performed in every corner of the kingdom. Priests, devotees, and even the common folk would sit together, united in the repetition of the divine name, seeking solace, strength, and divine guidance. The rhythmic sound of the chanting filled the air like a sacred song, a constant reminder of the virtues Rama had lived by: truth, justice, and compassion. It was in these moments of prayer and devotion that his divine presence was most acutely felt. For the sages, Rama was not just a figure in a story, but the living embodiment of dharma. In their quiet retreats, they would meditate on the teachings of the Ramayana, seeking to emulate the virtues displayed by Rama in their own lives. His commitment to truth, his unwavering justice, and his deep compassion for all beings provided the ideal for the spiritual aspirant to strive toward. The sage's path, marked by renunciation and devotion, was guided by Rama's example. They saw in his life not only a historical narrative, but a map to inner awakening, a reminder that true spiritual growth is found in living in alignment with divine principles. For the common folk, the stories of Lord Rama were more than sacred texts. They were the foundation of a moral life. In villages and towns, people would gather around storytellers who recounted the adventures and lessons of Rama's life. These tales were not just entertainment. They were lessons in dharma that shaped the way people interacted with one another, how they governed their homes, and how they faced life's adversities. Rama's devotion to family, his respect for women, his care for his people, and his unyielding faith in righteousness served as the ultimate example of how to live a virtuous life. The Ramayana, in its simplicity and depth, became the guide by which many chose to live. Children were taught about Rama from a young age. His story, told by their parents, was instilled in them as a moral compass for life. They learned the value of truth and integrity through Rama's unwavering pursuit of dharma. They learned the power of compassion through his love for all living beings, whether human or animal. The lessons of the Ramayana were passed down from one generation to the next, ingraining Rama's virtues into the very fabric of society. In temples across the land, his divine virtues were celebrated through hymns and prayers. The Ramayana was recited in its entirety during festivals, and statues of Rama were adorned with flowers as the faithful offered their worship. The sounds of bells ringing in the temples, the gentle hum of mantras being chanted, and the fragrance of incense rising to the heavens all served as reminders of his eternal presence. Through these rituals, the people of Ayodhya and beyond felt a deep connection to their king, who had become, in death, the living embodiment of the divine. As more and more devotees gathered to sing praises of Lord Rama, his presence became a focal point for spiritual growth and realization. He was no longer just the hero of a story. He had become the source of inspiration, a divine being whose teachings transcended the limits of time. His legacy, which had started in the mortal realm, continued to grow and expand in the spiritual realm. His name, his virtues, and his wisdom flowed like a river, touching and transforming the lives of those who embraced it. The growing reverence for Lord Rama marked the beginning of a spiritual renaissance. His teachings spread far beyond the borders of Ayodhya, reaching distant lands and communities. Saints, philosophers, and devotees from all walks of life came to be inspired by the profound lessons of his life. His dharma became the universal ideal, truth, justice, and compassion that transcended cultural boundaries. As his memory lived on through the generations, so too did the impact of his life on the hearts and minds of those who sought a higher understanding of themselves and the world. With each passing year, the stories of Rama's life and the lessons of the Ramayana took on a deeper, more spiritual significance. Devotees began to see Rama not only as the ideal ruler, but as the divine presence that guided their hearts. His divine virtues became the guiding light for all spiritual seekers, showing them that the path to liberation was one of living in harmony with Dharma. As the years passed, the name of Lord Rama echoed in every corner of the world. The chanting of his name, the recitation of his story, and the reverence shown to him became an integral part of spiritual practice. His influence, once confined to the walls of Ayodhya, now reached the farthest corners of the earth. Rama's essence, embodied in his teachings, continued to inspire generations, keeping his memory alive not just as a king, but as the eternal guide for all who sought to live a life of dharma. And so, with each prayer, each act of devotion, and each step taken on the path of righteousness, the spirit of Lord Rama remained alive, his divine presence forever etched in the hearts of his devotees. His legacy would never fade, for it was not a legacy of kingship, but a legacy of divine love and wisdom, passed down from generation to generation, lighting the way for all who followed the path of Dharma. The Ramayana, the timeless epic that recounts the divine journey of Lord Rama, stands as one of the cornerstones of Hindu spirituality. Its verses, written in the ancient language of Sanskrit, hold within them not just the story of a hero, but the very essence of dharma, truth, justice, and the eternal struggle between good and evil. The teachings embedded in the epic transcend generations, nations, and even time itself. In every corner of the land, the Ramayana continues to be recited and sung, its verses filling the air like a sacred melody. From the grand temples of Ayodhya to the simplest homes, the words of the epic are shared with reverence. Devotees gather to listen to the stories of Rama's life, his birth, his exile, his battle with Ravana, and his unwavering commitment to duty. The Ramayana, once spoken in the royal courts and the sages' hermitages, has now become the pulse of the people's spiritual lives, a guide for righteous living, and a constant source of comfort. The sounds of epic recitations echo through the land. In the early mornings, the melodious chants of the Ramayana drift through the air as devotees gather for prayer, their voices rising in unison, reciting the sacred verses. These recitations, often accompanied by the soft strumming of instruments like the sitar and tabla, fill the space with a rhythm that connects the soul to the divine. The words of the epic, passed down through generations, become more than just a story. They become a meditation, a spiritual practice that leads individuals closer to understanding their place in the world and their connection to the divine. The significance of the Ramayana in daily life cannot be overstated. Its teachings shape the moral and spiritual fabric of society. In every home, its stories are shared as a way of teaching the younger generation the values of integrity, devotion, and selflessness. Rama's unwavering commitment to dharma, his devotion to his family, and his ability to remain steadfast in the face of overwhelming odds become the moral compass by which people guide their own lives. Whether in the halls of the royal palace or the quiet village hut, the Ramayana's lessons are woven into the fabric of daily existence. The devotion to Lord Rama, as encapsulated in the Ramayana, becomes a form of spiritual discipline. Each recitation, each telling of the epic, draws the devotee closer to the qualities that Rama embodied: truth, courage, compassion, and self-control. The stories of his struggles and triumphs teach not only the history of a king, but the spiritual lessons that underlie all human existence. The struggle between good and evil, the importance of living in harmony with dharma, and the belief that righteousness will ultimately prevail form the backbone of Hindu spirituality. Rama's actions, portrayed in the Ramayana, exemplify the ideal human life, one that follows the path of righteousness regardless of the challenges that may arise. The Ramayana also transcends its status as a mere religious text. It has become a cultural and philosophical treasure that influences all aspects of life: art, literature, dance, and music. It is performed in grand theatrical productions, with dancers and actors portraying the sacred story on stages across the world. Artists create vibrant painting, sculptures, and carvings that capture the key moments from Rama's life, from his heroic battles to his moments of meditation by the river. Musicians compose beautiful songs that celebrate his virtues, and poets write verses inspired by his divine presence. The Ramayana, in all its forms, becomes an expression of the divine and an invitation to all to join in the eternal journey of truth. The epic also serves as a unifying force, bringing together devotees from all walks of life. Whether one is a king, a sage, or a humble villager, the Ramayana speaks to the universal truth of the human experience, the need for love, the search for justice, and the quest for spiritual fulfillment. Through the recitation of the epic, devotees find a common bond in the pursuit of dharma, a shared understanding of the divine path. As the centuries pass, the Ramayana continues to evolve, but its essence remains unchanged. The story of Lord Rama, his trials, his victories, and his unwavering devotion to dharma remains a source of inspiration for all who seek to live righteous lives. It has transcended time, becoming a part of the collective consciousness, passed down through generations like an eternal flame. Every retelling of the story is an invitation to enter the divine world of Rama, to learn from his life, and to carry his lessons forward into the future. In the present day, as the recitations fill the air, it becomes clear that the Ramayana is not just a historical account, but a living, breathing force that shapes the spiritual journey of countless individuals. Its influence stretches far beyond the borders of India, reaching devotees around the world who seek to understand the divine truths embedded in the epic. Its messages of love, justice, and devotion continue to resonate with those who strive to live in accordance with dharma. And yet, the story of Lord Rama does not end with the closing of the book or the final verse of the chant. The teachings of the Ramayana are eternal, continuously inspiring those who come into contact with it. The legacy of Rama's life, embodied in this sacred text, carries on through every generation, guiding them toward a higher understanding of themselves and the divine. As the chapter draws to a close, the realization becomes clear. Lord Rama's journey continues, not in the past, but in the hearts of his devotees, through the words of the Ramayana and through the eternal message he imparted. His influence is far-reaching, and his teachings will continue to guide humanity for as long as the story is told and the name of Rama is uttered. The Ramayana, then, is not just a story. It is a timeless journey, one that continues to inspire and illuminate the path of dharma for all who walk it. As the story of Lord Rama reaches its conclusion in the mortal realm, the true nature of his being becomes clear. He was not just a king, a hero, or a man bound by the limitations of flesh and time. Rama was the incarnation of Lord Vishnu, the supreme being sent to earth to restore the balance of dharma and to guide humanity back to its true nature. His life, filled with struggles and triumphs, was not simply a narrative of a mortal hero. It was a divine act, a cosmic event that echoed through the universe, setting in motion the restoration of cosmic order. The air around Ayodhya, once filled with the ordinary sounds of the marketplace and royal affairs, now seemed to vibrate with a deeper resonance. The wind, as it rustled through the trees, seemed to carry a divine whisper, a reminder of the cosmic connection between Lord Rama and the universe. The rivers, flowing steadily through the land, now appeared to carry with them the very essence of dharma. The very earth, which had borne the weight of Rama's feet for his years on earth, now seemed to pulse with the energy of the divine. Rama's story, which had unfolded in the mortal realm, was more than just the tale of a king's life. It was a story woven into the fabric of creation itself. His birth in the city of Ayodhya, his exile to the forest, the battles he fought, and the trials he faced were all steps in the divine plan to restore balance to the world. Every act of bravery, every decision to uphold truth, and every moment of devotion to his family and kingdom had a deeper purpose. one that transcended the individual and reached into the heart of the cosmos. As an incarnation of Vishnu, Lord Rama had taken on the mantle of divine intervention, descending into the world to correct the forces of chaos and restore dharma. The epic of the Ramayana was not just the history of one man's life. It was a representation of the eternal struggle between good and evil, light and darkness. The evil forces of Ravana, who had held Sita captive, symbolized the forces of adharma, or unrighteousness, and Rama's victory over them represented the triumph of divine order over chaos. His life was a reminder that the universe operates on divine laws, and when these laws are threatened, the gods themselves intervene to restore balance. The sounds of the universe, the cosmic vibrations of life, seemed to converge as Rama's story unfolded. It was as though every breeze, every river, and every wave of the ocean carried with it the cosmic energy of his divine purpose. The natural world, once seen as separate from humanity, now felt intertwined with Rama's life, a reflection of the connection he held with the divine order. As he lived his life in accordance with dharma, the universe itself seemed to respond, affirming the interconnectedness of all things, and the divine role that Rama played in the unfolding of creation. In the hearts of his devotees, the recognition of Rama's divine nature became clearer with each passing day. The realization that he was Vishnu incarnate was not something confined to the realm of the sages and scholars. It was felt by the people of Ayodhya in their very beings. His virtues, his courage, his devotion, and his unwavering commitment to righteousness were seen not just as the actions of a mortal king, but as divine qualities reflected in the human form. To worship Rama was to connect with the very essence of the cosmos, to align oneself with the divine law of dharma that governed the universe. As the people of Ayodhya continued their daily lives, their prayers and rituals took on a deeper meaning. The stories of Rama's life, recited daily in homes and temples, were not just tales of a king. They were sacred teachings, offering a direct connection to the divine. The chanting of his name, the singing of hymns in his honor, the offerings made at the temples, all carried the energy of devotion that was now infused with the divine essence of Lord Vishnu. The act of worship was no longer just a ritual, it was a communion with the eternal, a reminder that the divine was always present, both in Rama's story and in the hearts of his followers. Even as the physical world continued to turn, the divine presence of Rama continued to reverberate through creation. His incarnation on earth had been a pivotal moment in the cosmic cycle, but his influence did not end with his departure. The teachings of the Ramayana, the lessons of dharma and devotion, continued to inspire and guide the world long after his physical body was no longer present. His life had been the embodiment of divine will, and through his story, humanity was offered a pathway to align with the eternal laws of the universe. As the wind carried the soft hum of the earth's rhythm, as the rivers continued their eternal course, and as the cosmic vibrations echoed through the hearts of all living beings, the presence of Rama remained. His divine purpose from Ki Shivam Param Pam fulfilled through his life and actions, continued to reverberate through the fabric of existence, reminding all who listened that dharma, truth, and justice would forever be the guiding forces of creation. Rama's life was not just a story, it was the divine path made manifest in human form, a cosmic event whose influence would never fade. His eternal message was one of love, righteousness, and devotion, resonating across time and space, forever shaping the spiritual journey of all who followed the path of dharma. As the chapter draws to a close, the divine nature of Lord Rama's life becomes increasingly clear. His journey was not just a personal one, it was the fulfillment of divine will, a journey that transcends the human experience and reaches into the heart of the cosmos itself. The legacy of Lord Rama continues, forever intertwined with the eternal flow of the universe, and his teachings continue to guide all who seek the path of righteousness. His story, his life, and his divine message are timeless, lasting beyond the limits of time, and echoing through the hearts of his devotees, forever a part of the great cosmic order. Lord Rama's influence, though rooted in the kingdom of Ayodhya, extends far beyond the borders of his homeland, reaching across continents and cultures, impacting civilizations in ways that transcend time and geography. His name, once spoken only in the royal courts of ancient India, is now heard in distant lands, carried by travelers, traders, and seekers of truth. From the mountains of Tibet to the shores of Southeast Asia, from the temples of Bali to the far-flung corners of the world, Lord Rama's teachings continue to inspire and guide millions. His life and the epic of the Ramayana have become a universal symbol of righteousness, a beacon of hope for those who seek to live with honor, integrity, and devotion. As the years passed, the message of Lord Rama spread through both sacred texts and the hearts of devoted followers. His virtues, truth, justice, compassion, and unwavering devotion to dharma resonated with people from all walks of life. The Ramayana, once passed down orally, began to be translated into various languages, reaching even the most distant corners of the world. Each culture that embraced his story found something deeply personal in his life. Whether in the form of art, music, literature, or religious practice, Lord Rama became a figure whose teachings transcended the limits of geography and culture. In Southeast Asia, especially in countries like Indonesia, Thailand, and Cambodia, Rama is revered not just as a king, but as a divine hero. The Ramayana has been adapted into countless forms of performance art, including dance, drama, and shadow puppetry, each interpretation reflecting the unique cultural fabric of these lands. In Bali, the grand temples dedicated to Lord Rama stand as symbols of devotion, where offerings are made in his honor, and his story is performed for pilgrims and tourists alike. In these regions, Lord Rama's journey is seen as a reflection of the eternal battle between good and evil, light and darkness, universal themes that transcend time and space. In the vast expanse of the Himalayas, where monks and sages meditate in silence, Lord Rama's story is a spiritual guide. His unwavering commitment to dharma, his dedication to truth even in the face of immense personal loss, has made him an eternal symbol of the spiritual journey. To the seekers in these remote areas, Rama represents the ideal of divine righteousness, a figure whose actions were always aligned with the higher purpose of the universe. The sound of mantras, chanting his name, resonates through the mountains, a testament to the enduring power of his teachings. Rama's influence did not stop at the borders of the Indian subcontinent. It found its way into the spiritual traditions of the West as well. Scholars and seekers, drawn by the universality of the Ramayana's message, began to explore the profound wisdom within the text. In the 19th and 20th centuries, as global communication grew, Lord Rama's story became more widely known, reaching an audience that had never before been exposed to the sacred texts of India. Western thinkers, philosophers, and spiritual leaders found in Rama's life an archetype for the divine human, a figure whose virtues provided a moral compass for all who wish to live with integrity. The echoes of his name are heard in the chants of religious communities around the world. In the halls of temples, the words of the Ramayana continue to be recited, carried on the breath of thousands of devoted worshippers. His name is repeated in the daily prayers of millions, and his story is woven into the fabric of their lives as a constant reminder of the eternal battle between good and evil, of the path of dharma that guides humanity toward truth and enlightenment. As the teachings of Rama spread, his life became a universal symbol of the power of righteousness. He was not just a king, not just a warrior. He was a divine embodiment of the laws that govern the universe. His dedication to dharma, to truth, and to his duty as both a king and a father inspired countless individuals to live with integrity, to act selflessly, and to uphold justice. His story continues to shape the moral compass of the world, guiding those who seek to lead lives that reflect the highest ideals of humanity. Even today, as we look around the world, we see Rama's impact reflected in the lives of those who strive to live with honor, who seek to protect the weak, and who work to bring peace and justice to the world. His virtues, truth, courage, love, and compassion continue to resonate deeply within the hearts of those who learn from his example. His journey is not confined to the past. It is an ongoing source of inspiration for those who walk the path of Dharma. As the sound of chanting continues to fill the air, carried on the winds of time, Lord Rama's influence grows stronger. His teachings are passed down through every generation, from one devotee to the next. The people of the world continue to honor him, to seek his guidance, and to draw strength from his life. And as the Ramayana is read and recited across the globe, Lord Rama's presence is felt, reminding all who listen that the battle between good and evil is not just a story, but a living reality, a journey that continues through the hearts and actions of those who follow the path of Dharma. As his story stretches across the world, it becomes clear that Lord Rama's journey is not confined to the pages of the past. His divine message, filled with lessons of love, truth, and sacrifice, continues to shape the world and the hearts of his devotees, transcending time and place, reaching across borders and cultures. The impact of his life, his divine virtues, and his eternal message is boundless, stretching into the present and future, always guiding humanity toward the light of Dharma. With this realization, the narrative slowly begins to wind down, preparing to bring you back to the peace of sleep, leaving them with the echo of Rama's name, the sound of his teachings, and the sense that his divine presence continues to guide them in their own lives. His journey may have ended in the physical world, but in the hearts of his followers it lives on, forever timeless, forever present. As the world continues its relentless march through time, the legacy of Lord Rama endures, untouched by the passing years. The kingdoms rise and fall, civilizations evolve, and the faces of the world change, yet his story remains timeless. The teachings of Rama, steeped in the eternal principles of dharma, loyalty, justice, and compassion, continue to shape the hearts of those who hear his name. His life, once lived on the earthly plane, now exists in the collective consciousness of humanity, perpetually retold by generations that have come to revere his virtues and seek guidance from his example. The stories of Rama, passed down through centuries, have been shared across cultures, across the expanse of the globe. Each retelling, whether in the form of songs, dances, dramas, or sacred recitations, brings with it a new layer of meaning. Though the world changes, the core message of Rama's life remains the same, that righteousness, truth, and devotion to duty are the eternal forces that guide humanity toward peace. The words of the Ramayana, in their many forms, are not just a historical account. They are living, breathing teachings that transcend time, offering light to those who walk the path of Dharma, just as Rama did. The passage of time may have dulled the memory of many figures of history, but Rama's light only grows brighter with each passing generation. His virtues, those of a king who ruled with unwavering integrity, a husband who upheld his vows despite the greatest of trials, and a man who, despite his divine nature, remained humble in the face of his immense responsibilities, continue to serve as a model for all who seek to live honorably. His story has been etched in the hearts of millions, and as long as his name is spoken, his life continues to guide the world. The centuries may alter the conditions in which people live, but the lessons Lord Rama imparted are as relevant today as they were when he first walked the earth. In times of peace, his example of justice and compassion teaches society to live with fairness and empathy. In times of conflict, his strength and unwavering adherence to dharma provide hope, reminding the world that truth will ultimately prevail. His life, marked by sacrifices and triumphs alike, serves as an eternal reminder that the path of righteousness is not always the easiest, but it is the one that leads to ultimate peace. As time marches forward, the stories of Rama become more than just myths or teachings. They become part of the moral fabric that binds humanity together. They are repeated by parents to children, sung by bards and performers, and spoken by sages and philosophers. In temples, in homes, in fields, and on city streets, his name is invoked daily. Even as cultures adapt and transform, Lord Rama's life remains a steady presence, a beacon of light and guidance that shines through the ever-changing world. The stories may take on new forms, but the essence of his teachings remains unchanged. In villages, far from the grandeur of the royal courts, people still gather to chant his name, to remember his strength, his devotion, and his love for humanity. The simplicity of the lives of these devotees mirrors the simplicity of the principles Lord Rama championed: truth, honor, selflessness, and sacrifice. His example is not confined to the temples of Ayodhya, but is alive in the quiet moments of daily life when individuals strive to uphold the ideals of righteousness in their own hearts. The passage of time, though it shifts the course of history, does nothing to diminish the power of Rama's example. His story is eternal because it speaks to the universal human experience. The trials of life, the complexities of duty, the pain of loss, and the rewards of devotion. These are all threads that run through the fabric of every person's life, regardless of time or place. Rama's story teaches that to live in alignment with Dharma is to live in alignment with the very laws of the universe, and it is through this alignment that true peace and fulfillment are found. And so, as the world continues to turn, the spirit of Lord Rama remains a constant, a guiding force for humanity. The passage of time may change the world in countless ways, but his presence, as eternal as the stars, endures. As long as his story is told, as long as his teachings are followed, his legacy will continue to inspire generations to come. His life, his struggles, and his triumphs live on in the hearts of those who walk the path of Dharma, and his eternal message of righteousness echoes through the ages, a timeless beacon of light in an ever-changing world. With each retelling of his life, Rama's journey continues. The lessons he taught, the truths he upheld, and the love he embodied are passed on from one soul to another, creating a ripple that spreads throughout the world. In this way, his life becomes a living, breathing force that transcends the limitations of time and space, continuing to guide those who seek to live with honor, truth, and compassion. As this chapter of Lord Rama's story draws to a close, it marks the beginning of a deeper reflection on his divine journey and the impact his life continues to have on the world. With his legacy ever present, the narrative prepares to bring you into a peaceful rest, reflecting on the eternal teachings of Lord Rama as the world carries on in the calm rhythm of time, forever touched by his divine presence. As the world continues its steady passage through time, the presence of Lord Rama remains unwavering in the hearts of all who remember him. Though his physical form is no longer with us, his divine essence lingers in the lives of those who revere his name and follow the path he set forth. His life, marked by the virtues of dharma, justice, love, and compassion, continues to inspire, guide, and uplift generations across the world. His legacy, once felt in the royal courts of Ayodhya, now reaches far beyond those walls, touching countless lives. Wherever you go, whether you are walking through the bustling streets of a city, sitting in quiet reflection at home, or traveling in distant lands, Lord Rama's name is heard. His teachings, carried through the generations by the recitation of sacred verses, the chanting of his name, and the daily prayers of his devotees, continue to resonate with you, bringing you back to the core principles of righteousness, truth, and devotion. His story has become woven into the very fabric of life, guiding each of us in our journey. In every corner of the world, from the vibrant temples of India to the humble homes in remote villages, the story of Lord Rama is told and retold. The Ramayana, passed down through countless generations, is more than just a sacred text. It is a living tradition, a spiritual map for those seeking the path of Dharma. You may hear it chanted in the soft glow of temple lights, or read aloud by the fireside as families gather together. The words of the Ramayana continue to guide and shape lives, their echoes filling the air as they carry forward the eternal message of Lord Rama. For you, as his devotee, his example is a constant source of inspiration. His devotion to truth, his unwavering commitment to duty, and his boundless love for all living beings are qualities that you carry with you, reminding you every day of your own potential to live a life of righteousness. His journey, though set in the past, remains timeless, for his virtues are not bound by time or space. The lessons he imparted transcend generations, cultures, and eras, as they speak to the universal truths that guide every human heart. The sound of his name, the repetition of his sacred verses, are woven into the rhythm of your life, just as they have been for millions before you. Whether you chant his name in prayer or reflect upon his actions in moments of quiet solitude, his divine essence surrounds you. Through every act of kindness, every moment of integrity, every time you choose compassion over conflict, you walk in the shadow of his example. Lord Rama's dharma becomes your own as you seek to live in alignment with his timeless virtues. Even in a world of constant change, the teachings of Lord Rama remain a steady constant. His story continues to influence the spiritual lives of millions, and his name is invoked not only in moments of worship, but in moments of trial and decision. When you face struggles, his unwavering strength reminds you that righteousness will always prevail. When faced with difficult choices, his devotion to dharma inspires you to choose truth and justice above all else. His legacy is more than just a memory. It is a living, breathing force that continues to guide you and all those who turn to him in their moments of need. As the days unfold, the presence of Lord Rama remains like a gentle light, guiding you through the darkness and filling your life with peace. His life, though set in a distant past, continues to shape your present, offering a path that leads you towards spiritual fulfillment and understanding. His example serves as a reminder that dharma is not merely a set of rules. It is a way of being, a way of living in harmony with the divine laws that govern the universe. Now, as the world continues its eternal flow, you carry with you the wisdom of Lord Rama, the peace of his teachings, and the love he embodied in every action. With every breath, his presence surrounds you, and his legacy lives on through you, as it has through generations of his devoted followers. His name is not just a word, it is the essence of a life lived in divine purpose, a purpose that transcends time and place, and continues to guide you as you walk the path of dharma. The soft rhythms of chanting, the quiet sounds of nature, and the eternal message of Lord Rama echo in your heart. As you prepare to rest, know that his divine presence is always with you, leading you toward peace, wisdom, and understanding. The journey of Lord Rama, though it began in a distant time, continues in the hearts of his followers, and as you drift into sleep, you are held in the eternal embrace of his love and teachings. With this final reflection on Lord Rama's impact, his teachings, and his divine journey, you can now surrender to the peace that his life embodies. As you close your eyes and drift into sleep, his eternal presence continues to guide you, wrapping you in the serenity of his virtues, allowing you to rest deeply and peacefully, with the knowledge that his light will always shine within you, forever leading you toward the path of dharma.